You do not have an English problem, you have a translation problem. That is why you can understand English videos, read English sentences, and know many words but still freeze when someone asks you a simple question in English. Your brain hears English, runs back to your native language, prepares the answer, translates it again, checks grammar, fears mistakes, and by the time you are ready to speak, your confidence is already gone. This is not fluency. This is mental traffic. Real English speaking does not come from memorizing more words. It comes from building a new brain system where English goes directly from meaning to speech. This book will help you stop translating and build a native brain for English, a brain that thinks, reacts, and answers in English naturally. Before we go deep, subscribe to the channel for upcoming powerful audiobooks that help serious learners speak English with confidence. And in the comments, write, "I will build my English brain." This book is published by English Mindset Academy. Now let us unlock the native English brain. Chapter 1. The translation trap that keeps your English slow. The first wall you must break is the wall most learners do not even see. It is not grammar. It is not vocabulary. It is not pronunciation. It is translation. Translation looks innocent in the beginning because it helps you understand English when you are new. You hear a word, you translate it into your own language, and suddenly the meaning becomes clear. You read a sentence, you convert it inside your mind, and the sentence begins to make sense. In the early stage, translation feels like a helper, but after some time, the same helper becomes a hidden cage, because the brain that understands through translation is not always the brain that can speak with fluency. When you are reading, translation gives you time. You can stop, you can think, you can go back, you can check the meaning, you can slowly build the sentence inside your mind. But real conversation does not give you that comfort. Conversation moves, people ask questions, people wait for answers, people change topics, and in those moments, a translating brain becomes too slow. This is why you may understand English when you are alone, but freeze when someone speaks to you face to face. It is not because your English is completely gone, it is because your brain is trying to do 5 jobs at the same time. First, it listens to English, then it changes the meaning into your native language, then it prepares an answer in your native language, then it translates that answer back into English. Then it checks grammar, pronunciation, sentence order, and possible mistakes. By the time your mouth is ready, your confidence has already started falling. That delay is what makes you feel weak. That delay is what makes you say, "I know English, but I cannot speak." That delay is what makes simple conversations feel like exams. And the painful truth is this: many learners keep feeding the same problem. They think the answer is more grammar, more vocabulary, more rules, more lessons, more notebooks, more memorization. But the real issue is not always that they do not know enough English. The real issue is that their English is stored in the wrong system. Their English is stored as information, not as response. There is a big difference. Information means you know something when you have time to think. Response means it comes out when you need it. Information lives in your memory. Response lives in your reflex. Information helps you pass tests. Response helps you speak with people. Information says, "I know this word." Response says, "I can use this word right now." Most English learners have a lot of information but very little response power. That is why they can watch English videos and understand the message. That is why they can read comments, subtitles, books, and captions. That is why they can recognize words when someone else uses them, but when they need to create their own sentence, their mind becomes blank. They are not empty. Their brain simply cannot access the English fast enough. Fluency is not just knowing English. Fluency is quick access to English, and translation blocks that access. Imagine you are driving, but before every turn you must stop the car, open a map, ask someone, check the road, and then move again. You may still reach your destination, but you will never drive smoothly. This is exactly what happens when you translate every sentence before speaking. Your mind keeps stopping, your confidence keeps shaking, your rhythm keeps breaking. You may know the road, but you cannot move naturally. A native English brain works differently. It does not translate every word. It connects English directly to meaning. When it hears "I'm tired," it does not need to convert the sentence. It feels the meaning. When it hears "What do you think?" it does not panic. It understands the situation and prepares a response. When it wants to say something, it does not build every sentence from zero. It uses familiar patterns already stored inside the brain. This is the secret most learners miss. Fluent speakers do not create every sentence word by word. They use ready-made patterns. They say "I think" without thinking about grammar. They say "to be honest" without translating. They say "what I mean is" without stopping. They say "it depends on" because the pattern is already inside them. Their brain has heard it, repeated it, used it, and trusted it so many times that it no longer feels like study. It feels like natural speech. This is what you must build. You do not need to destroy your native language. You do not need to hate translation. You do not need to become someone else. But you must stop depending on translation as the main road to speaking. Translation can help you understand difficult things, but it should not control your mouth in real conversation. If translation controls your mouth, your speaking will always feel late. Your answer will always arrive after the moment has passed. Your confidence will always depend on whether you had enough time to prepare. And real fluency cannot live like that. Real fluency begins when English becomes direct. Direct listening, direct meaning, direct response, direct speech. This means when you see water, your brain should not first think of the word in your own language and then search for water. It should simply think water. When you feel tired, your brain should not build a full sentence in your language and translate it. It should simply say, "I'm tired." When someone asks, "How was your day?" your brain should not freeze. It should have simple, ready responses like, "It was good, but a little busy," or "It was tiring, but I got a lot done." These simple sentences are not small. They are the foundation of fluency. Many learners ignore simple English because they want advanced English, but advanced English cannot help you if simple English is not automatic. You do not become fluent by collecting impressive words. You become fluent by making useful English fast, natural, and available. A person who can answer quickly with simple English is more fluent than a person who knows difficult words but stays silent. Never forget this. Your goal is not to impress people with complicated sentences. Your goal is to communicate without fear. Your goal is to let English move from your mind to your mouth without passing through a long translation tunnel. Your goal is to make English feel close, familiar, and usable. So from today, start noticing your translation habit. When you hear English, ask yourself, am I understanding the meaning directly, or am I converting every word? When you speak English, ask yourself, am I expressing my idea, or am I translating a sentence from my language? When you practice English, ask yourself, am I building response power, or am I only collecting information? These questions will wake up your awareness, and awareness is the first step toward change, because you cannot break a habit you do not see. The translation trap survives in darkness. It survives because learners think it is normal to translate forever. It survives because they believe speaking will automatically come after more studying. It survives because they keep waiting for confidence before they start speaking. But confidence does not come before practice. Confidence comes from repeated proof. Every time you answer in English without translating, you give your brain proof. Every time you use a simple sentence directly, you give your brain proof. Every time you speak even with mistakes, you give your brain proof. And slowly, your brain begins to believe, I can do this. This is how the native English brain begins. Not with perfection, not with big words, not with complicated grammar. It begins with direct connection, English word to meaning, meaning to response, response to speech, speech to confidence, and confidence back to more speech. This is the new cycle you must build. The old cycle was translation, fear, delay, silence, and regret. The new cycle is meaning, response, speech, correction, and growth. At first, it may feel uncomfortable because your brain is used to translating. It may feel strange to think in simple English. It may feel too basic to repeat small sentences. But do not disrespect small sentences. Small sentences are the bricks of fluent speech. When they become automatic, your brain becomes free to build bigger ideas. You cannot build a strong house without strong bricks. You cannot build fluent English without automatic basics. So start with your daily life. Do not wait for special practice time only. When you wake up, think, I need to get up. When you eat, think, I'm hungry. When you feel busy, think, I have a lot to do today. When you are confused, think, I'm not sure what to do. When you want to explain something, begin with, What I mean is, this is how English enters your life. This is how English becomes personal. This is how English stops being a subject and starts becoming a voice. And once English becomes a voice inside your mind, speaking becomes lighter. You no longer drag every sentence through translation. You no longer feel trapped between two languages. You no longer wait for perfect grammar before opening your mouth. You begin to respond like a person who is training the brain, not fighting the brain. Remember this chapter deeply. The reason you freeze is not always because you do not know English. Sometimes you freeze because your brain is taking the longest road. Your job is to train it to take the direct road. The direct road is not translation. The direct road is meaning. The direct road is practice. The direct road is repetition. The direct road is response. And every day you choose that direct road, you are building the native brain for English. One sentence at a time. One response at a time. One brave moment at a time. Chapter 2. Build direct meaning before you chase perfect grammar. The native English brain does not begin with perfect grammar. It begins with direct meaning. Before your mind asks, "Is this sentence correct?" it must first learn to understand the situation, feel the meaning, and respond with simple English without running back to your native language every time. This is where many English learners stay stuck for years. They believe they must master every grammar rule before they can speak confidently, so they keep waiting for the perfect day when every tense, every preposition, every article, every helping verb, and every sentence structure becomes clear. But fluency does not come from waiting silently until you become perfect. Fluency comes from using English again and again until your brain stops treating English like a subject and starts treating it like a natural way to express meaning. A native English brain is not built from fear of mistakes, it is built from connection to real life. When you feel tired, your brain should not translate a full sentence from your language, it should simply say, "I'm tired." When you need help, your brain should not search through grammar rules. It should simply say, "Can you help me?" When you do not understand something, your brain should not freeze in shame. It should simply say, "I don't understand this yet." These sentences may look simple, but they are powerful because they train the mind to connect English directly with life. Many learners disrespect simple English because they think fluency means big words, long sentences, and complicated grammar. But the truth is that advanced English is useless if your basic English is not automatic. If you cannot say simple things quickly, naturally, and calmly, then difficult sentences will only create more pressure. A person who can answer clearly with simple English is more fluent than a person who knows advanced vocabulary but becomes silent when conversation begins. Real fluency is not about showing people how many words you know. Real fluency is about moving your meaning from your mind to your mouth without fear, delay, or translation. If your meaning is clear, your English has power. If your response is natural, your English has life. If your sentence is simple but useful, your English is working. This is the mindset you must build because the native English brain grows through useful language, not decorative language. Grammar is important, but grammar must become a servant, not a master. Grammar should help you organize your meaning, not stop you from speaking. When grammar becomes a master, every sentence feels dangerous. You begin to think, what if I use the wrong tense? What if I choose the wrong word? What if my sentence sounds strange? What if people notice my mistake? And while your mind is busy protecting you from mistakes, your mouth loses the courage to speak. This is why grammar-first learners often become slow speakers. They know many rules, but they cannot use those rules under pressure. They can solve exercises on paper, but they cannot answer naturally in a real conversation. They can understand the difference between present simple and present continuous. But when someone asks, "What are you doing these days?" their mind still becomes blank because knowing the rule is not the same as having the response ready. The native English brain learns grammar through repeated meaning. It hears a pattern many times, uses that pattern many times, and slowly the pattern begins to feel natural. This is why you must stop learning only isolated rules and start training sentence patterns that you can use in real life. A pattern gives your brain a ready road. Once the road is ready, your idea can travel faster. For example, the pattern "I want to" is simple, but it can open hundreds of sentences. You can say, "I want to improve my English." You can say, "I want to speak more confidently." You can say, "I want to understand native speakers." You can say, "I want to stop translating." You can say, "I want to build a stronger English brain." One pattern becomes many answers, and every answer trains your mind to speak with less fear. Another powerful pattern is I'm trying to. This pattern is perfect for learners because it allows you to express your effort without needing complicated English. You can say, I'm trying to think in English. You can say, I'm trying to speak more naturally. You can say, I'm trying to improve my pronunciation. You can say, I'm trying to answer faster. You can say, I'm trying to become more confident. When this pattern becomes familiar, your brain does not need to build every sentence from zero. This is the secret of natural speaking. Fluent speakers are not creating every sentence word by word like a machine. They are using familiar patterns that already live inside their mind. They have heard those patterns many times, repeated them many times, and used them in different situations. Because of that, their speech sounds fast and smooth. Their brain is not calculating every word. Their brain is choosing from ready language. Your goal is to build that same readiness. You do not need to memorize thousands of difficult words before you speak. You need to turn the English you already know into active speaking patterns. A word alone is weak if you cannot use it. A word inside a useful sentence becomes powerful. Do not only learn the word confident, learn I feel confident when. Do not only learn the word comfortable, learn I feel comfortable speaking with. Do not only learn the word improve, learn I want to improve. Do not only learn the word explain, learn let me explain. This is how English becomes usable. A single word may stay asleep in memory, but a pattern wakes it up. A single word may help you understand, but a pattern helps you speak. A single word may look good in your notebook, but a pattern becomes a tool in your mouth. This is why the native English brain is not built by collecting words like stones, it is built by connecting words into speaking roads. Direct meaning also means you must connect English with your senses, your emotions, your actions, and your daily situations. When you see a chair, think chair. When you open the door, think I'm opening the door. When you drink water, think I'm drinking water. When you feel nervous, think I feel nervous but I can speak slowly. When you are busy, think I have a lot to do today. These small thoughts may look basic, but they are training your brain to stop depending on translation. Most learners only meet English during study time. They open a book, watch a lesson, write notes, and then close English again. But a native English brain is built when English enters normal life. English must not live only in your notebook. It must live in your room, your thoughts, your phone, your work, your walking, your cooking, your planning, your emotions, and your daily decisions. The more English becomes connected to your real world, the less foreign it feels. This is why thinking in English is so powerful. Many learners wait until they become fluent before they start thinking in English, but this is backwards. Thinking in English is one of the ways you become fluent. You do not need perfect English thoughts. You need simple English thoughts repeated every day. When your inner voice begins using English, your speaking becomes faster because the sentence has already started forming inside you before you open your mouth. Start with short thoughts. I need to go. I'm getting late. I have to finish this. I'm not ready yet. This is difficult, but I can learn it. I need more practice. I should speak slowly. These small thoughts build direct mental pathways. The more you repeat them, the more your brain accepts English as a normal thinking language instead of a language that must always be translated. Direct meaning also removes pressure from your speaking. When you focus only on grammar, you become afraid. When you focus on meaning, you become active. A conversation is not a grammar test. A conversation is a bridge between two minds. The person listening to you usually wants your message, not your perfect sentence. If your meaning is clear, you are communicating. If you are communicating, you are already doing the real job of language. This does not mean you should ignore mistakes forever. Mistakes matter, but they should be corrected through practice, not feared into silence. If you make a mistake while speaking, your brain still learns. If you stay silent because you fear mistakes, your brain learns nothing. A mistake gives you feedback. Silence gives you regret. A mistake can be improved. Silence becomes a habit. That is why speaking imperfectly is more powerful than waiting perfectly. The native English brain is trained through movement. It grows when you use English, adjust English, repeat English, and return to English again. You speak a sentence, notice where you struggled, improve the pattern, and use it again. This is how real learning happens. Not by hiding from mistakes, but by turning mistakes into training. You must stop asking, how can I speak without making mistakes, and start asking, how can I keep speaking while improving my mistakes? This one change can free your mind. Perfect speaking is not the beginning of fluency. Perfect speaking is not even the daily reality of native speakers. Everyone pauses, Everyone changes sentences. Everyone searches for words sometimes. The difference is that fluent speakers continue. They do not treat every small mistake like a disaster. When your goal is direct meaning, you give yourself permission to continue. You can say, let me say that again. You can say, I mean. You can say, what I'm trying to say is. You can say, sorry, I forgot the word, but I mean. These phrases are powerful because they keep the conversation alive. They teach your brain that you do not need to stop just because one sentence was not perfect. This is part of building a native English brain, learning how to survive the imperfect moment. Many learners freeze because they believe one mistake ends the conversation, but real speakers repair sentences all the time. They start again, they explain differently, they use simpler words, they ask for a moment, they continue. This ability to continue is one of the strongest signs of fluency. You must also train your brain to understand English as whole ideas, not only as separate words. When you hear, what do, do not translate each word separately. Understand the whole meaning. The person is asking about your work or your daily role. When you hear, how's it going? Do not panic because the words look strange. Understand the whole meaning. The person is asking how things are. When you hear, that makes sense, understand the whole meaning. The person agrees or understands. Whole idea understanding is faster than word-by-word translation. It helps your brain respond naturally because you are not stuck inside individual words. This is why you must listen to real phrases again and again. Not only vocabulary, not only grammar, real phrases, real questions, real answers, real conversation patterns. Your brain must become familiar with how English actually moves. When you practice, do not only repeat sentences like a robot, attach feeling to them. Say I'm tired when you are actually tired. Say I'm excited when you feel excited. Say I'm confused when you are confused. Say I need more time when you truly need time. Emotion makes language stronger in memory. A sentence connected to emotion stays longer than a sentence repeated without feeling. This is why personal English is powerful English. When a sentence belongs to your life, your brain remembers it better. If you practice, the bluebird is flying over the mountain, maybe it helps grammar, but it may not help your real speaking. If you practice, I'm trying to improve my English because I want better opportunities, that sentence has meaning for you. It carries your goal. It connects to your identity. It can become part of your real voice. Your English practice should be full of sentences you can actually use. Sentences about your work, sentences about your family, sentences about your dreams, sentences about your fear, sentences about your routine, sentences about your opinions, sentences about your problems, sentences about your progress. This is how you build an English brain that belongs to you, not just a borrowed textbook voice. A native English brain does not speak from memorized pages, it speaks from lived connection. You must also learn to answer questions with ready meaning. Questions are the heart of conversation. If you can answer common questions naturally, your confidence will rise quickly. Practice questions like, tell me about yourself. What do you do? Why are you learning English? What are your goals? What do you think about this? How was your day? What is difficult for you? What are you working on these days? These questions appear again and again in real life, and your brain should not meet them like strangers. Create simple answers and repeat them until they feel natural. For why are you learning English, you can say, I'm learning English because I want to speak confidently and create better opportunities for my future. For what is difficult for you, you can say, the most difficult part is speaking quickly because sometimes I translate too much in my mind. For how was your day, you can say, it was good but a little busy. I had some work to finish, but I'm feeling okay now. These answers are not complicated, but they are alive. They help you speak about real life. They train your brain to respond. They give your mouth rhythm. They build confidence through repetition. And when similar questions appear in real conversation, your brain will not feel completely empty because it has already walked that road before. This is the power of direct meaning practice. You are not just studying English, you are preparing your brain for real moments. You are giving your mind ready connections. You are making English familiar before pressure arrives. You are creating a speaking system that can work even when you feel nervous. Many learners wait for confidence before they practice speaking, but confidence comes after practice. It comes after your brain experiences success many times. The success does not need to be big. A small answer is success. A clear sentence is success. A brave attempt is success. A moment where you did not translate is success. A conversation where you continued after a mistake is success. Your brain changes through proof. Every direct English thought is proof. Every simple sentence is proof. Every repeated pattern is proof. Every spoken answer is proof. Every mistake you survive is proof. And slowly your brain begins to trust English. It begins to feel that English is not only something you study, English becomes something you can use. English becomes something you can reach. English becomes something that belongs inside your mind. This is what direct meaning does. It brings English closer. It makes English faster. It makes English more personal. It makes English less frightening. It makes English more alive. So stop chasing perfect grammar as the first step. Chase clear meaning, chase useful patterns, chase daily English thoughts, chase small responses, chase sentences that belong to your life. Grammar will improve as you use English, but if you keep waiting for perfect grammar before you speak, your speaking life will remain locked. The native English brain is built when meaning becomes stronger than fear, when your message becomes more important than your mistake, when your response becomes faster than your translation, when English becomes connected to life instead of only connected to lessons, and once your brain starts connecting English directly with meaning, something beautiful begins to happen. You stop feeling like you are carrying English from the outside. You begin to feel like English is growing from the inside. You hear a question and the answer starts forming. You feel an emotion and the words appear. You enter a situation and your brain remembers the pattern. You stop fighting every sentence and speaking becomes lighter. This is the beginning of natural English. Not perfect English. Natural English. English that moves. English that responds. English that carries meaning. English that belongs to you. Chapter 3, Turn Passive English into Speaking Reflex. Many English learners have a silent treasure inside their mind. They know hundreds of words. They understand many sentences. They can watch English videos, read English captions, follow simple conversations, and recognize expressions when other people use them. But when they try to speak, that treasure feels locked. The words are there, but they do not come out. The meaning is there, but the sentence does not form quickly. The knowledge is there, but the mouth does not move with confidence. This is called passive English. Passive English means you can understand English when you see it or hear it, but you cannot use it quickly when you need to speak. It is the English that lives in your memory, but not yet in your mouth. It helps you recognize meaning, but it does not give you fast response. And this is one of the biggest reasons learners feel confused about their progress. They think, I know this word, I know this sentence, I have heard this phrase many times, then why can I not say it when I need it? The answer is simple but powerful. Recognition is not the same as production. Recognition means your brain can identify English when it comes from outside. Production means your brain can create English from inside. Recognition is easier because the sentence is already given to you. Production is harder because you must build the sentence yourself. This is why you may understand a speaker easily but struggle to answer that same speaker naturally. A native English brain is not built only by recognizing English. It is built by producing English again and again until the language becomes reflex. A reflex is something your body does quickly because it has been trained. When someone throws something toward your face, your eyes blink before you think. When you touch something hot, your hand moves away before you analyze. In the same way, speaking reflex means your brain can produce useful English before fear and translation take control. This is the difference between knowing English and having English ready. A learner with passive English says, I know what this means. A learner with speaking reflex says, I can use this right now. A learner with passive English understands the phrase, I'm not sure. A learner with speaking reflex says, I'm not sure, but I think, without freezing. A learner with passive English recognizes, it depends. A learner with speaking reflex uses it naturally when someone asks for an opinion. A learner with passive English knows the word improve. A learner with speaking reflex says, I'm trying to improve my speaking every day. This is the shift you must create inside your mind. You must stop asking only, do I understand this? And start asking, can I use this? That question will change your entire English journey because understanding alone can make you feel comfortable, but using English makes you fluent. Understanding gives you knowledge, but using English gives you power. Understanding prepares the mind, but speaking trains the brain. If English enters your ears but never leaves your mouth, it remains passive. If English enters your mind and comes out through your voice, it begins to become active. Many learners spend years feeding passive English. They watch lessons, save vocabulary, read posts, listen to podcasts, and feel productive. These activities are useful, but if they never turn into speaking, they create a dangerous illusion. The learner feels like they are improving because they understand more. But when real conversation begins, the mouth still freezes. This is why input alone is not enough. Input gives your brain material. Output trains your brain to use that material under pressure. Imagine a person watching hundreds of videos about swimming but never entering water. They may understand the technique, they may know how the arms should move, they may know how breathing works, they may even explain swimming theory to someone else. But when they enter deep water, knowledge alone will not save them. The body must be trained, the movement must be practiced, the fear must be faced. Speaking English works the same way. You cannot become a speaker only by watching other people speak. You must train your own voice. You must train your own mouth. You must train your own response. This does not mean you need a perfect speaking partner every day. It does not mean you need to travel abroad. It does not mean you need expensive courses or perfect conditions. It means you must start turning every piece of English you learn into active use. When you hear a useful sentence, repeat it. When you learn a new phrase, use it in your own sentence. When you read a question, answer it out loud. When you watch a lesson, pause and speak. When you learn vocabulary, attach it to your real life. This is how passive English wakes up. A word becomes active when you use it. A phrase becomes active when you repeat it in real situations. A sentence becomes active when your brain can say it without begging for translation. A pattern becomes active when your mouth can use it even when you feel nervous. The native English brain is built through activation. Do not learn the word nervous only as a meaning, activate it. Say, I feel nervous when I speak English. Say, I get nervous when people listen to me. Say, I'm nervous, but I still want to try. Say, speaking makes me nervous, but practice makes me better. Now the word has life. It is no longer sleeping in your vocabulary list. It has become part of your voice. Do not learn the word opportunity only as a beautiful word. Activate it. Say, English can give me better opportunities. Say, I want more opportunities in my future. Say, speaking English can open new opportunities for me. Say, I'm learning English because I want to be ready for better opportunities. Now the word is connected to your dream, and because it is connected to emotion, your brain will remember it more deeply. Do not learn the word comfortable only to recognize it. Activate it. Say, I feel comfortable speaking with patient people. Say, I'm not comfortable speaking fast yet. Say, I want to become comfortable in English conversations. Say, the more I practice, the more comfortable I feel. Now the word becomes useful because it is attached to your real speaking journey. This is what most learners do not do. They collect English, but they do not activate English. They store words, but they do not give those words a job. They save phrases, but they do not put those phrases into their own life. Then they wonder why the language disappears under pressure. It disappears because it was never trained to move. Your brain remembers what it uses. Your mouth becomes familiar with what it repeats. Your confidence grows around what you practice. Speaking reflex is created when useful English becomes repeated English. One of the strongest ways to build speaking reflex is to practice response patterns. A response pattern is a sentence shape that helps you answer quickly. It gives your brain a starting point so you do not freeze at the beginning. Many learners freeze not because they have nothing to say, but because they do not know how to start. Once the first words come out, the rest becomes easier. That is why starting patterns are so important. For opinions, train patterns like I think, I feel like, in my opinion, the way I see it, to be honest. For explanations, train patterns like the reason is, what I mean is, let me explain, it happens because. For personal experience, train patterns like in my experience, for me, I remember when, I've noticed that. For uncertainty, train patterns like I'm not sure but, it depends on, maybe, I could be wrong but. These patterns are not small. They are the doors of conversation. When you have doors, you can enter. When you do not have doors, you stand outside with your ideas locked inside. A speaking reflex begins when these doors become automatic. You hear a question, and your brain immediately offers a starting pattern. You do not wait for a perfect sentence. You begin with a familiar road, and then your meaning follows. For example, if someone asks, "Do you think English is difficult?" a translating brain may freeze because it tries to build the perfect answer, but a trained speaking brain can begin with, "To be honest, I think English is difficult in the beginning, but it becomes easier when you practice every day." This answer is not complicated, but it is natural. It begins quickly, it gives meaning, it keeps the conversation alive. If someone asks, "Why do you want to improve your English?" your brain can answer, "I want to improve my English because I want to speak confidently and create better opportunities for my future." This sentence uses simple words, but it carries a clear message. It is powerful because it is usable. It can become a reflex if you practice it enough. If someone asks, "What is your biggest problem in English?" your brain can answer, "My biggest problem is that I understand English, but sometimes I translate too much when I speak." This answer is honest, clear, and connected to your real life. If you repeat answers like this many times, your brain will not feel empty when real questions appear. Speaking reflex also requires mouth training. Many learners practice English only inside the head. They think silently, they read silently, they understand silently. But speaking is physical. Your tongue, lips, breath, voice, rhythm, and pronunciation must become familiar with English sounds. If your mouth never practices, your brain may know the sentence, but your tongue will feel heavy when it is time to speak. This is why you must speak out loud. Not only think, not only read, not only listen. Speak. Your voice must hear English coming from your own mouth. At first, it may feel strange. You may not like your accent. You may feel awkward. You may think, "I sound bad." But that discomfort is normal. Your mouth is learning a new rhythm. Your voice is building new confidence. Your brain is getting used to hearing you as an English speaker. Do not stop because it feels strange. The strange feeling is part of the training. Record yourself for 1 minute. Talk about your day, talk about your goal, talk about what you learned, talk about your problem, then listen, not to insult yourself, but to understand yourself. Notice where you stopped, notice which words were hard, notice which sentence patterns helped you. Then repeat the same topic again. The second time will be better, the third time will be smoother, the fourth time will feel more natural. This is how reflex grows. Do not jump to new topics too quickly. Repetition is not failure. Repetition is training. If you speak about your daily routine 10 times, you are not wasting time. You are making daily English automatic. If you answer "Tell me about yourself" 20 times, you are not being boring. You are building confidence for one of the most common questions in the world. If you repeat, "I'm trying to improve my English every day," you are teaching your brain to express your journey naturally. Many learners are addicted to new lessons, but fluency needs repeated use. New lessons give excitement, but repetition gives ownership. New words make you feel smart, but repeated patterns make you speak. New videos may motivate you, but active practice changes you. The native English brain is not built by touching many things once. It is built by using important things many times. This is why you must choose your core speaking sentences. These are sentences you will need again and again in life. Sentences for introducing yourself, sentences for explaining your opinion, sentences for asking for help, sentences for saying you do not understand, sentences for describing your work, sentences for talking about your goals, sentences for handling nervous moments, sentences for continuing after mistakes. For example, keep sentences like these close to your mouth. "Let me think for a moment. I'm still learning, so I may speak slowly. What I mean is, can you explain that again? I understand the idea, but I need more practice. I'm trying to express myself more clearly. I don't know the exact word, but I can explain it." These sentences protect you during conversation. They give you time, they keep you moving, they prevent silence from taking control. A powerful English speaker is not someone who never struggles. A powerful English speaker knows how to continue during struggle. This is why repair phrases are important. When you make a mistake, say, "Let me say that again." When you forget a word, say, "I forgot the word, but I mean." When you need time, say, "Give me a second." When you are unsure, say, "I'm not sure if this is the right word, but..." These phrases turn weak moments into strong moments because they keep the conversation alive. Most learners freeze because they do not have recovery language. They believe they must speak perfectly or stop completely, but real fluency lives between those two extremes. You can pause and continue, you can make a mistake and repair it, you can forget a word and explain around it. You can speak slowly and still communicate. You can be imperfect and still be understood. This realization gives your brain freedom. Freedom creates speech. Fear creates silence. Speaking reflex also grows when you practice fast, small responses. Not long speeches, not perfect essays, not complicated answers. Small responses. Someone says, "How are you?" You answer, "I'm good, just a little tired today." Someone says, "Do you agree?" You answer, "Yes, I agree with that." Someone says, "Are you ready?" You answer, "Almost, give me a minute." Someone says, "What do you think?" You answer, "I think it depends on the situation." These small responses are the heartbeat of conversation. If you cannot answer small things quickly, big conversation becomes difficult. That is why you must make small English automatic. Practice short answers until they come without pressure. Then slowly expand them. First say, "I'm tired." Then say, "I'm tired because I worked a lot today." Then say, "I'm tired because I worked a lot today, but I still want to practice English." This is how a small reflex grows into a bigger sentence. Do not force your brain to jump from silence to advanced fluency. Build the bridge. Simple response, longer response, natural response, confident response. This is the path. A native English brain is not built by pressure, it is built by progression. Another powerful method is shadowing, but you must use it correctly. Shadowing means listening to a sentence and repeating it with the speaker or immediately after the speaker. It trains rhythm, pronunciation, speed, and natural phrasing. But do not shadow random difficult content that makes you feel lost. Shadow useful sentences that you can actually use. Choose clear English. Choose real-life phrases. Choose sentences that match your level and your goals. When you shadow, do not only copy sound, feel the meaning. If the sentence is, "I'm trying to speak more clearly," say it like it belongs to you. If the sentence is, "I need more time to think," say it like you really need time. If the sentence is, "That makes sense," imagine someone explaining something to you. This connection between sound and meaning makes the practice deeper. Speaking reflex is not only speed, it is meaningful speed. You do not want to become a robot who repeats sentences without understanding. You want your brain to connect sound, meaning, feeling, and response together. That is when English becomes alive. You must also stop judging your English too early. Many learners kill their speaking reflex before it grows because they judge every sentence while speaking. They say 2 words and immediately think, "That was wrong." They hear their accent and think, "I sound terrible." They pause and think, "I am failing." This constant judgment interrupts the brain. It creates fear. It breaks flow. It trains silence. During practice, separate speaking time from correction time. When you speak, speak. Let the sentence come out. Let the idea move. Let your mouth practice. After speaking, you can correct. You can notice mistakes. You can improve 1 or 2 things. But do not bring the grammar police into every second of your speech. If you correct yourself while every sentence is still being born, your brain will become afraid to speak at all. Fluency grows when expression comes first and correction comes after. This does not mean mistakes are ignored. It means mistakes are handled wisely. First, train the brain to produce, then train the brain to improve. Production builds confidence, correction builds accuracy. You need both, but not at the same moment with the same pressure. Think of a child learning to walk. The child falls many times. No one says, "Stop walking until your balance is perfect." The falling is part of learning. The body improves through movement. Speaking is the same. Your sentence may fall, your grammar may shake, your pronunciation may stumble, but every attempt strengthens the system. If you wait until you can walk perfectly before taking a step, you will never walk. This is why you must speak before you feel ready. Readiness is created by speaking. Confidence is created by speaking. Reflex is created by speaking. The native English brain needs evidence, and every spoken sentence gives evidence. It tells your brain, "I can produce English." It tells your mouth, "I can move in this language." It tells your confidence, "I am not helpless." It tells your identity, "I am becoming an English speaker." These to makoptasa that tanti ishal work. And this identity matters deeply. If you see yourself only as a learner who studies English, you may stay in study mode forever. But if you begin to see yourself as a speaker in training, your behavior changes. You do not only ask, "What can I learn today?" You ask, "What can I say today?" You do not only ask, "What words can I memorize?" You ask, "What words can I use?" You do not only ask, "How much did I understand?" You ask, how much did I express? This is the mindset shift that turns passive English into speaking reflex. Every day, choose one small topic and speak about it for 1 minute. Your day, your work, your dream, your family, your English problem, your favorite food, your future goal, your opinion about a simple question. Do not write a perfect script first. Speak with what you have. If you stop, continue. If you forget a word, explain differently. If you make a mistake, keep going. The goal is not a perfect recording. The goal is an active brain. Then choose one useful phrase and use it 5 different ways. If the phrase is I'm trying to, say 5 sentences. I'm trying to learn English. I'm trying to speak faster. I'm trying to stop translating. I'm trying to improve my confidence. I'm trying to practice every day. This simple exercise trains flexibility. Your brain learns that one pattern can carry many meanings. Then choose one common question and answer it 3 times. First answer simply, then answer with more detail, then answer naturally like a real conversation. For example, why are you learning English? First, I'm learning English for my future. Second, I'm learning English because I want better opportunities. Third, I'm learning English because I want to speak confidently, understand people easily, and create better opportunities for my future. This builds depth without pressure. This kind of practice changes your brain because it does not only feed English, it demands English, it asks the brain to produce, it asks the mouth to move, it asks confidence to show up, it asks passive knowledge to become active power. And when passive English becomes active, everything changes. You stop feeling like English is locked inside you. You stop waiting for perfect conditions. You stop depending only on translation. You stop collecting words that never leave your notebook. You begin to speak with the English you already have. You begin to trust simple sentences. You begin to respond faster. You begin to survive mistakes. You begin to feel movement. That movement is the beginning of fluency. Not because you suddenly know everything, but because the English you know finally starts working. A native English brain is not built by passive understanding alone. It is built when understanding becomes expression, when expression becomes repetition, when repetition becomes reflex, and when reflex becomes confidence. So do not let your English sleep inside your mind. Wake it up. Use it. Repeat it. Speak it. Make it move. Because the English you use becomes yours, and the English you only understand remains borrowed. Chapter 4. The fear loop that makes your mind go blank. There is a hidden enemy that destroys more English conversations than grammar mistakes, limited vocabulary, poor pronunciation, or lack of knowledge combined. That enemy is fear, not the fear of English itself. The fear of speaking English. Many learners believe they freeze because they do not know enough English. They think the problem is missing vocabulary. They think the problem is weak grammar. They think the problem is not enough study. But if that were completely true, then every learner who knew thousands of English words would automatically become fluent. Yet that does not happen. Many learners know a great deal of English and still become silent when someone asks them a simple question. Why? Because the real battle is not always happening in the language center of the brain. The real battle is happening in the emotional center of the brain. The moment someone starts speaking English to you, a silent alarm often goes off inside your mind. Suddenly, your brain stops focusing on communication and starts focusing on survival. You begin wondering, what if I make a mistake? What if I say something wrong? What if they laugh? What if they think my English is bad? What if I cannot answer? What if I forget the words? What if I embarrass myself? And within seconds, your attention shifts away from speaking and toward fear. This creates what can be called the fear loop. The fear loop is one of the biggest barriers to building a native English brain because it trains your mind to associate English with pressure instead of freedom. Every time you avoid speaking because of fear, your brain learns a dangerous lesson. It learns that silence is safety. It learns that speaking is danger. And once the brain believes that speaking is dangerous, it begins protecting you by making you avoid it. This protection feels frustrating because it creates the exact problem you are trying to solve. You want to speak more, but your brain is trying to protect you from speaking. You want confidence, but your brain is avoiding the very thing that creates confidence. You want fluency, but your brain is escaping the practice that produces fluency. This is why many learners remain stuck for years, not because they cannot improve, but because they are trapped inside a cycle. Fear creates silence. Silence creates less practice. Less practice creates lower confidence. Lower confidence creates more fear. And the cycle continues. The native English brain cannot grow inside that cycle because language grows through use. Confidence grows through experience. Speaking grows through repetition. And repetition only happens when action becomes stronger than fear. One of the biggest mistakes learners make is waiting to feel confident before speaking. They tell themselves, "When I learn more vocabulary, I will speak. When my grammar improves, I will speak. When my pronunciation becomes better, I will speak. When I feel confident, I will speak." But confidence is not the starting point. Confidence is the reward. Confidence comes after action, not before it. Think about riding a bicycle. Nobody becomes confident before riding. Confidence comes from wobbling, falling, adjusting, practicing, and eventually staying balanced. Speaking English follows the same pattern. The first conversations may feel uncomfortable. Your heart may beat faster. Your mind may become nervous. You may pause more than you want. You may make mistakes. You may forget words. But these experiences are not proof that you are failing. They are proof that you are training. Every fluent speaker has walked through this stage. Every confident speaker once felt uncomfortable. Every natural speaker once sounded unnatural. The difference is that they continued, and continuation creates transformation. Many learners secretly believe that fluent speakers never feel nervous. This is not true. Even native speakers sometimes forget words. Even native speakers sometimes struggle to explain ideas. Even native speakers sometimes pause while speaking. The difference is not perfection. The difference is recovery. A native English brain does not panic when something goes wrong. It recovers. When a word disappears, it finds another word. When a sentence breaks, it rebuilds it. When a mistake happens, it continues speaking. This ability to recover is one of the most important skills you can build. Because conversations are not tests. Conversations are moving experiences. You do not need perfect English to continue a conversation. You need enough courage to keep moving. Many learners treat every mistake like a disaster. They say one sentence incorrectly and immediately feel defeated. They forget one word and suddenly believe their English is terrible. They mispronounce something and spend the next 10 minutes thinking about it. This habit destroys speaking confidence because it teaches the brain to focus on failure instead of communication. The native English brain focuses on meaning first. If the message reaches the other person, communication has already succeeded. Perfection can come later. Communication comes first. Imagine two learners. The first learner speaks imperfectly but continues. The second learner waits silently for the perfect sentence. After 6 months, which learner improves more? Almost always, it is the first learner. Because movement creates growth. Silence creates stagnation. This does not mean you should ignore mistakes. It means mistakes should become teachers instead of enemies. Every mistake contains information. Every mistake shows you something useful. Every mistake points toward improvement. A learner who speaks and makes mistakes learns faster than a learner who never speaks at all. This is why you must change your relationship with mistakes. Instead of asking, "How can I avoid mistakes?" ask, "How can I learn from mistakes?" That small shift changes everything, because one question creates fear. The other creates growth. Another reason people freeze is because they try to sound impressive. They want every sentence to sound intelligent. They want advanced vocabulary. They want complicated grammar. They want perfect pronunciation. And because their standards are so high, they become afraid to speak. The native English brain does not chase perfection. It chases communication. Simple English spoken confidently is more powerful than complicated English trapped inside your head. The goal is not to sound like a dictionary. The goal is to connect with people. The goal is to express thoughts. The goal is to share meaning. The goal is to communicate. This is why simple language is powerful. Simple language moves. Simple language works. Simple language survives pressure. Simple language builds confidence. Many learners underestimate the value of simple sentences. But simple sentences are the foundation of natural speech. When someone asks how your day was, you do not need a complex answer. You can say, "It was good. It was busy. It was interesting. It was challenging." Then add a little more. "It was busy because I had a lot of work. It was good because I finished an important task. It was challenging because I had to learn something new." This is real communication. This is how confidence grows. Another hidden source of fear is comparison. Many learners constantly compare compare themselves to fluent speakers. They watch native speakers and feel discouraged. They watch advanced learners and feel behind. They listen to perfect accents and feel inadequate. But comparison is dangerous because it focuses your attention on someone else's chapter while ignoring your own progress. The person you admire today was once a beginner. The speaker who sounds natural today once struggled. The fluent learner who inspires you today once felt confused. Nobody begins at the finish line. Everyone starts somewhere. Your only real competition is the person you were yesterday. Did you speak more today? Did you think in English more today? Did you practice more today? Did you become slightly more comfortable today? If the answer is yes, you are moving forward. And movement matters more than speed. Many learners quit because they underestimate small progress. They expect transformation overnight, but the native English brain is built gradually, one sentence at a time, one conversation at a time, one brave moment at a time. Every time you choose speaking over silence, you strengthen the speaking brain. Every time you continue after a mistake, you strengthen the speaking brain. Every time you survive an uncomfortable conversation, you strengthen the speaking brain. Every time you express yourself despite fear, you strengthen the speaking brain, and slowly something amazing begins to happen. The situations that once terrified you become normal. The questions that once froze you become easy. The conversations that once felt impossible become manageable, not because English became easier, but because your brain became stronger. This is an important distinction. Fluency is not only about learning English. Fluency is also about training courage. You are not simply building vocabulary. You are building trust. Trust in your voice. Trust in your ability to continue. Trust in your ability to recover. Trust in your ability to communicate. And trust changes everything. Because when the brain trusts itself, it stops wasting energy on fear. When the brain trusts itself, it focuses on meaning. When the brain trusts itself, speaking becomes lighter. When the brain trusts itself, English starts flowing more naturally. The fear loop begins breaking the moment you prove to yourself that speaking is safe. Not perfect. Safe? There is a huge difference. You do not need to prove that you can speak perfectly. You only need to prove that you can survive speaking imperfectly. Once your brain learns that mistakes do not destroy you, fear begins losing its power. Once fear loses power, confidence begins growing. Once confidence grows, speaking becomes easier. Once speaking becomes easier, practice increases. Once practice increases, fluency accelerates. And that is how the native English brain begins replacing the fear brain, not through magic, not through talent, not through perfect grammar, but through repeated evidence. Evidence that you can speak, evidence that you can continue, evidence that you can recover, evidence that you can communicate, evidence that English belongs in your life. The learners who become fluent are not always the smartest. They are often the ones who refuse to stop, the ones who keep speaking despite discomfort, the ones who keep practicing despite mistakes, the ones who keep showing up despite fear. Because fear becomes weaker every time you face it. Confidence becomes stronger every time you act. And fluency becomes possible every time you choose communication over perfection. That choice may seem small, but repeated thousands of times, it builds the native English brain. A brain that does not freeze. A brain that does not run away. A brain that does not panic at every mistake. A brain that understands that communication matters more than perfection. And once that understanding becomes part of your identity, English stops feeling like a battle. It starts feeling like a voice. Your voice. Chapter 5. The secret power of thinking in English before you speak. The real change in your English begins before you open your mouth. It begins in the private place where nobody can hear you. It begins inside your mind. Many learners only think about speaking when another person is standing in front of them, when a teacher asks a question, when an interviewer says, "Tell me about yourself," when a stranger starts a conversation, or when they suddenly need English in a real moment. But by that time, the pressure is already high, the mind is already nervous, the heart is already beating faster, the brain is already searching for words under stress, and because the learner has not trained the inner voice before the outer conversation, speaking feels like a sudden exam. This is why thinking in English is one of the most powerful habits you can build. Thinking in English is not something you wait to do after you become fluent. Thinking in English is one of the ways you become fluent. If your mind spends the whole day thinking in your native language, planning in your native language, reacting in your native language, describing life in your native language, and only uses English when someone forces you to speak, then English will always feel like a visitor. It will feel external. It will feel like something you must pull from outside yourself. But when English enters your inner voice, it becomes closer, it becomes familiar, it becomes part of your mental world. And when English becomes part of your mental world, speaking becomes lighter. Your inner voice is always active. It comments on your life. It says, I need to wake up. I have to finish this work. I am tired. I am hungry. I do not know what to do. This is difficult. I should try again. I made a mistake. I can do better. Every day, thousands of silent sentences move through your mind. These sentences shape your emotions, your decisions, your confidence, and your identity. If all of those sentences happen only in your native language, then your English brain gets very little training outside study time. But when you begin changing some of those silent sentences into English, you start creating direct mental pathways. You do not need to translate. You do not need another person. You do not need a perfect accent. You do not need a classroom. You only need awareness and repetition. At first, thinking in English may feel slow. It may feel unnatural. It may feel too simple. You may only be able to think basic sentences like, I am tired, I need water, I have work, or I want to practice. That is completely normal. Do not disrespect simple English thoughts. Simple English thoughts are the first bricks of the native English brain. Before your mind can think deeply in English, it must first become comfortable thinking simply in English. Many learners fail because they try to jump too high too early. They want to think in English like a philosopher, speaker, or native author from the first day. They try to create long, beautiful, complicated thoughts, and when they cannot do it, they feel disappointed. But the native English brain does not begin with complex thoughts. It begins with clear, repeated, useful thoughts that match daily life. When you wake up, think, I need to get up now. When you look at your phone, think, let me check my messages. When you feel hungry, think, I need something to eat. When you are late, think, I have to hurry. When you are tired, think, I need some rest. When you make a mistake, think, it is okay, I can try again. These sentences are small, but they are not weak. They teach your brain that English can describe real life directly. This is the beginning of mental fluency. Mental fluency means English can move inside your mind without always depending on translation. It means your brain can create English thoughts before it creates English speech. It means the sentence is not born for the first time when you speak. It has already been practiced silently many times. That is why thinking in English makes speaking easier. It gives your mouth a path that your mind has already walked. If you want to speak English naturally, you must stop making English appear only during pressure. Bring English into quiet moments. Bring English into simple actions. Bring English into private thoughts. Bring English into your daily routine. Bring English into the moments when nobody is judging you. This private practice is powerful because it removes fear. When you think in English alone, nobody can laugh. Nobody can correct you harshly. Nobody can interrupt you. Nobody can judge your accent. You are free to experiment. You are free to make mistakes. You are free to repeat. You are free to build the inner system slowly, and when the inner system becomes stronger, the outer voice becomes more confident. A person who only speaks English during public pressure will always feel nervous. A person who practices English privately inside the mind becomes prepared before the conversation arrives. This is why your inner voice must become your daily English partner. You may not always have someone to practice with. You may not always have a teacher. You may not always have a speaking friend. You may not always have a comfortable environment. But you always have your mind, you always have your thoughts, you always have your day. And every day gives you hundreds of opportunities to think small sentences in English. When you walk, describe what you see. There are many people here. The road is busy. The weather is hot today. That shop is open. I need to go home. When you work, describe what you are doing. I need to finish this task. This is taking more time. I should focus. I am almost done. When you study, describe your progress. This lesson is useful. I understand this part. This word is new for me. I need to repeat this again. When you feel emotions, name them in English. I feel nervous. I feel proud. I feel confused. I feel better now. This habit connects English to the real world, and connection is the secret. A language becomes natural when it is connected to life, not only to lessons. If English lives only in grammar books, it will feel like a subject. If English lives only in vocabulary lists, it will feel like memory work. If English lives only in videos, it will feel like entertainment. But when English lives in your emotions, actions, decisions, questions, and daily thoughts, it begins to feel like a living language. That is when your native English brain starts waking up. Another powerful part of thinking in English is self-questioning. Questions force the brain to respond. If you only repeat statements, your English may improve, but when you ask yourself questions, you train the response system. And speaking is mostly response. Someone asks, you answer. Someone says something, you react. Someone shares an idea, you respond. So your mind must become comfortable answering in English. Ask yourself simple questions every day. What am I doing now? What do I need to do today? How do I feel right now? What did I learn today? What do I want to improve? Why am I learning English? What is difficult for me? What can I do better tomorrow? Then answer in simple English. I am practicing English. I need to finish my work. I feel a little tired. I learned a useful sentence today. I want to improve my speaking. I am learning English because I want better opportunities. My biggest problem is translation. Tomorrow, I can practice for 10 minutes. This may look very simple, but it is powerful because it trains your brain to create English from inside. You are not copying a sentence, you are producing a response. You are building the same mental movement that happens in real conversation, but without public pressure. This is how your brain becomes faster. The speed of speech begins with the speed of thought. If your English thoughts are slow, your English speech will be slow. If your English thoughts become faster, your English speech becomes faster. This does not mean you must think fast from the beginning. It means you must practice until your thoughts become lighter. At first, one simple sentence may take time. Then the same sentence becomes easier. Then your brain creates similar sentences faster. Then you begin connecting two sentences. Then you begin explaining small ideas. Then your speaking begins changing because your mind is already preparing English before your mouth needs it. Thinking in English also helps you stop translating because it builds direct association. Direct association means your brain connects English words directly to meaning, images, emotions, and situations. When you think water, your brain should feel the meaning of water, not first go through your native language. When you think I'm tired, your brain should feel tiredness directly through English. When you think I need help, your brain should connect English to the need, not to a translated sentence. This direct association is what fluent speakers use. They do not translate every word because the word is already connected to meaning. You can build the same connection through repeated inner use. For example, every time you feel tired, think, I'm tired. Every time you need water, think, I need water. Every time you are busy, think, I'm busy right now. Every time you do not know something, think, I'm not sure. After many repetitions, these sentences become automatic. Your brain stops translating them because it has connected them directly to the situation. This is not magic. This is mental training. The brain becomes faster with repeated direct pathways. The more you use the pathway, the stronger it becomes. The less you use translation, the weaker the translation habit becomes. Many learners ask, how can I stop translating? The answer is not to fight translation with force. The answer is to create a stronger alternative. If you only tell yourself, do not translate, your brain may translate even more because it does not know what else to do. But if you give your brain direct English thoughts every day, it slowly learns a new route. The old route is situation, native language, English. The new route is situation, English. The old route is slow. The new route is direct. The old route creates delay. The new route creates response. The old route feeds fear. The new route builds confidence. And this new route is built through daily English thinking. One of the best exercises is the daily life narration exercise. This means you quietly narrate your life in English. You do not need to speak loudly. You can think it silently or whisper it. When you are getting ready, think, I am getting ready. I need to wear my shoes. I have to leave soon. When you are eating, think, this food is good. I am hungry. I need more water. When you are working, think, I have to complete this. This is important. I should not waste time. When you are resting, think, I need rest. I am feeling better. I will continue later. This exercise may feel childish at first, but it is one of the fastest ways to connect English with life. Children learn language through naming and describing life. Adult learners often avoid this because it feels too basic, but basic does not mean useless. Basic means foundational. Without basic direct thinking, advanced speaking becomes heavy. You must become comfortable with English at the level of daily life before you expect English to carry deep thoughts. Another powerful exercise is the emotion naming exercise. Many learners can talk about objects, but they struggle to express emotions, yet real conversations are full of emotions. You need to say when you are nervous, excited, confused, disappointed, hopeful, tired, proud, worried, interested, or motivated. If you cannot name your emotions in English, your speaking will feel limited. So throughout the day, name your emotions in English. I feel nervous. I feel relaxed. I feel confused. I feel motivated. I feel disappointed. I feel proud of myself. I feel a little stressed. I feel more confident today. Then add a reason. I feel nervous because I have to speak English. I feel relaxed because I finished my work. I feel confused because this topic is difficult. I feel motivated because I can see progress. I feel proud of myself because I practiced today. This simple habit builds emotional English. And emotional English is important because people do not speak only to exchange information. They speak to express feelings, opinions, concerns, hopes, problems, memories, and dreams. If your English cannot carry emotion, it will feel dry. If your English can carry emotion, it becomes more human. A native English brain is not only a grammar brain, it is an emotional brain. It connects English to feeling. Another important exercise is opinion thinking. Many learners can describe simple actions, but they freeze when asked for opinions. Questions like, what do you think? Do you agree? Why do you like it? What is your view? Can create pressure because they require personal expression. To prepare for this, start thinking small opinions in English during your day. When you watch something, think, I like this because, or I don't like this because. When you hear an idea, think, I agree with this because, or I don't fully agree because. When you choose something, think, I prefer this because. When you face a problem, think, the best solution is. These patterns train your opinion voice. Your opinion voice is important because fluent speaking is not only answering basic questions, it is expressing what you think. If you never practice opinions privately, your mind will panic publicly. But if you often think opinions in English, then real conversation becomes easier because your brain has already practiced forming views. Start with simple opinions. I think English is important. I think speaking is harder than reading. I think practice is more important than perfection. I think confidence comes from action. I think translation makes speaking slow. Then make them longer. I think English is important because it gives people more opportunities. I think speaking is harder than reading because speaking needs fast response. I think practice is more important than perfection because you cannot improve without using the language. I think confidence comes from action because every time you speak, your brain becomes stronger. This is how simple thinking becomes deeper thinking. Do not rush. Expand slowly. Another powerful method is the before speaking rehearsal. Before you enter a situation where you may need English, rehearse simple thoughts in English. If you have a meeting, think, I need to explain my idea clearly. I may need to ask a question. I can speak slowly. If I forget a word, I can explain it differently. If you have an interview, think, I can introduce myself. I can talk about my experience. I can take a moment before answering. If you are meeting someone new, think, I can say hello. I can ask simple questions. I do not need perfect English. This mental rehearsal reduces fear because your brain does not enter the situation completely unprepared. It has already imagined possible sentences. It has already walked through the conversation. It has already created response paths. Athletes use mental rehearsal. Speakers use mental rehearsal. Performers use mental rehearsal. English learners can use it too. The brain performs better when it has practiced the moment before. You can also use the after conversation replay exercise. After you speak English, do not only judge yourself. Replay the conversation in your mind and improve it gently. Think, what did I want to say? Where did I stop? Which sentence could I use next time? Then create a better version in English. For example, maybe someone asked, why are you learning English? And you answered only, for job. Afterward, you can think, next time I can say, I'm learning English because I want better job opportunities and more confidence in communication. This exercise turns real mistakes into future strength. It teaches your brain better responses without shame. Do not use replay to punish yourself. Use replay to train yourself. There is a big difference. Punishment says, I am bad. Training says, I can improve. Punishment creates fear. Training creates growth. A native English brain grows best when correction is calm. If you attack yourself after every mistake, your brain will start avoiding English. But if you treat mistakes as data, your brain will keep learning. You must become your own patient coach. Not a cruel judge, not an angry teacher. A patient coach who says, good, you tried, now let us make it better. Thinking in English also changes your identity. When your inner voice starts using English, you begin to see yourself differently. You are no longer someone who only studies English from outside. You become someone who lives with English inside. You begin to feel, English is part of my mind now. This identity matters because identity controls behavior. If you identify as someone who cannot speak English, you will avoid speaking. If you identify as someone who is building an English brain, you will practice. If you identify as someone who is weak, you will hide. If you identify as someone who is improving, you will continue. The story you tell yourself becomes the direction your brain follows. So use English to build a stronger identity. Think sentences like, I am becoming more fluent. I am training my English brain. I can speak slowly and still communicate. I do not need perfect English to start. I am improving every day. My brain is learning to think in English. I can build confidence through practice. These are not empty motivational lines if you connect them with action. When you think them and then practice, they become mental fuel. They remind your brain who you are becoming. They keep you from returning to the old identity of fear and silence. Another important truth is that thinking in English must be consistent. Doing it one time will not change your brain. Doing it daily will. The brain changes through repetition. 10 seconds many times a day can be more powerful than one long session once a week. You do not need to force English thoughts all day. Start with small moments: morning, work, food, travel, study, night. Choose moments where you will intentionally think in English. For example, in the morning, think 3 sentences about your day. During work, think 3 sentences about what you are doing. When you feel an emotion, name it in English. At night, summarize your day in 5 sentences. This is simple, but if you do it every day, your brain begins creating English pathways everywhere. At night, you can think, today was busy. I practiced English for 10 minutes. I learned 1 useful phrase. I felt nervous, but I continued. Tomorrow, I will practice again. This small night summary is powerful because it closes the day with English. It also trains memory, reflection, and self-expression. Over time, you can make the summary longer. You can describe what happened, what you learned, what was difficult, what you did well, and what you want to improve. This daily reflection builds a personal English world, and the more personal English becomes, the more natural it feels. You must also avoid one common mistake: translating your native thoughts into English word by word. Thinking in English does not mean you create a complicated thought in your own language and then convert it. That is still translation. Thinking in English means you build the thought directly with the English you already have. If your English is simple, let the thought be simple. Do not force your native language complexity into English before your brain is ready. For example, instead of thinking a long sentence in your language and struggling to translate it, use simple English directly. This is difficult. I need more time. I can explain it simply. The main idea is, I agree with this. I do not agree because... These direct thoughts may be shorter than your native thoughts, but they are more useful for building fluency. Fluency begins with usable English, not perfect translation. You are not trying to translate your full personality overnight. You are training your mind to express real meaning with available English. As your English grows, your thoughts will grow too. Simple thoughts become connected thoughts. Connected thoughts become explanations. Explanations become opinions. Opinions become stories. Stories become natural speech. But the first step is to accept simple English as real English. Another exercise is 3-level thinking. Choose one idea and express it at 3 levels. Level 1, very simple. I am learning English. Level 2, more detail. I am learning English because I want to speak better. Level 3, deeper expression. I am learning English because I want to speak confidently, understand people easily, and create better opportunities for my future. This exercise teaches your brain expansion. You do not need to jump directly to level 3. You begin with a small, clear thought, then add reason, then add detail. This is exactly how natural speaking often works. You start simple and expand as your brain warms up. Use this with many topics. I feel nervous. I feel nervous when I speak English. I feel nervous when I speak English because I worry about mistakes, but I know practice will help me become more confident. Or, I want to improve. I want to improve my speaking. I want to improve my speaking because I can understand English, but I still need faster response in real conversations. This method builds both clarity and confidence. Thinking in English also helps with listening. When you think in English, your brain becomes more familiar with English structure. You begin expecting certain patterns. You hear phrases and understand them faster because similar patterns already live inside your mind. This is why speaking, thinking, and listening are connected. They are not separate walls. They support one another. If you think "I'm trying to" many times, you will understand it faster when someone else says it. If you often think "it depends on," you will recognize it naturally in conversation. If you use "what I mean is" in your own thoughts, you will not feel confused when others use it. The English you produce becomes easier to understand when you hear it from someone else. This is why active practice strengthens passive understanding too. Your English brain becomes more complete. The most beautiful part of thinking in English is that it gives you control. You do not have to wait for someone to talk to you. You do not have to wait for a lesson. You do not have to wait for motivation. You can start right now. Wherever you are, whatever you are doing, your next thought can be in English. Maybe the thought is small, maybe it is imperfect, maybe it is slow, but it is a beginning, and every beginning matters. Think right now, "I am building my English brain." Think, "I do not need to translate every sentence." Think, "I can start with simple English." Think, "My mind can learn a new way." Think, "Every small thought makes me stronger." These thoughts are not just words. They are training signals. They tell your brain where to go. They create the path your speech will later follow. Because spoken English is often the echo of inner English. If there is no English inside, speaking must be forced from outside. But when English lives inside your thoughts, speaking has a source. That source becomes your native English brain, not because you were born with it, but because you built it. You built it through daily thoughts. You built it through simple sentences. You built it through private practice. You built it through emotional connection. You built it through repetition. You built it by choosing English in small moments when nobody was watching. And one day someone will ask you a question in English and something will feel different. Your brain will not run as quickly toward translation. Your mind will not panic as deeply. Your sentence will not feel as far away. A phrase will appear. A simple answer will come. You may still make mistakes, but you will continue. You may still speak slowly, but you will speak. You may still feel nervous, but fear will not control you like before. That moment will not happen by accident. It will happen because you trained your inner voice first. So do not wait for the perfect conversation to start building fluency. Start in your mind. Start with your day. Start with your emotions. Start with your small thoughts. Start with the English you already know, because the mind that thinks in English today becomes the mouth that speaks English tomorrow. Chapter 6: Train Automatic English Until Speaking Feels Natural. Automatic English is not a gift that only some people are born with. Automatic English is a trained response system. It is the result of hearing useful English, repeating useful English, feeling useful English, and using useful English so many times that the brain no longer treats every sentence like a new problem. When English becomes automatic, you do not need to build every sentence slowly from zero. You do not need to translate every word. You do not need to stop at every grammar rule. Your brain begins to recognize the situation, choose a familiar pattern, and send the message to your mouth with less pressure. This is the point where English starts becoming lighter. Not because you know every word in the dictionary, not because your grammar is perfect, not because your accent sounds exactly like someone else, but because the English you need most often has become trained inside your mind. Many learners misunderstand automatic English. They think automatic speaking means you will never pause, never make mistakes, never forget words, and never need to think. That is not true. Even strong speakers pause. Even native speakers search for words. Even confident people change sentences while speaking. Automatic English does not mean you become a machine. It means the basic speaking roads inside your brain become familiar enough that you can move without panic. When you walk, you do not think about every muscle in your legs. When you write your name, you do not carefully plan every letter. When you use your phone, you do not study every movement of your fingers. These things became automatic because you repeated them thousands of times. Speaking works the same way. Your brain needs repeated language movements. It needs repeated sentence roads. It needs repeated patterns connected to real situations. Without repetition, English remains knowledge. With repetition, English becomes reflex. The problem is that many learners want fluency without repetition. They want to watch one lesson and speak naturally. They want to memorize one list and respond quickly. They want to understand a grammar rule once and use it forever. But the brain does not build automatic ability from one-time exposure. The brain builds automatic ability from repeated use. What you repeat becomes easier. What you use becomes stronger. What you practice under low pressure becomes available under high pressure. This is why automatic English must be trained deliberately. You cannot simply hope that speaking will become natural one day. You must build the conditions that make natural speaking possible. You must choose the English you truly need. You must repeat it until your mouth becomes familiar with it. You must connect it with your real life. You must use it in different situations. You must return to it again and again until your brain says, I know this, I have used this before, I can use it again. This is how the native English brain becomes stronger. One of the greatest secrets of automatic English is this: your brain does not need unlimited English to start speaking. It needs a strong core of usable English. A learner who has 100 powerful sentence patterns and can use them naturally will often speak better than a learner who knows 5,000 words but cannot form quick responses. The speaking brain does not grow from random information. It grows from useful, repeated, meaningful patterns. Think about the most common situations in your life. You need to introduce yourself. You need to talk about your day. You need to explain what you do. You need to say what you want. You need to ask for help. You need to share your opinion. You need to say will you agree or disagree. You need to explain a problem. You need to ask someone to repeat. You need to say what you do not understand. You need to continue after a mistake. You need to express feelings. You need to describe your goals. These are the situations where automatic English matters most. If you train these situations deeply, your speaking confidence will grow faster. Do not begin by trying to speak about every topic in the world. Begin by mastering the sentences that belong to your life. If your life requires you to talk about work, train work sentences. If your life requires you to talk with customers, train customer sentences. If your life requires interviews, train interview answers. If your life requires daily communication, train daily responses. If your goal is social confidence, train small talk, opinions, questions, and simple stories. Automatic English is built when practice matches real life. Random practice creates random results. Focused practice creates speaking power. Many learners practice sentences they never use. They repeat strange textbook lines that have no emotional connection, no daily connection, and no real-life value. Then they wonder why those sentences disappear in conversation. Your brain remembers what feels useful. Your brain holds what feels personal. Your brain gives faster access to language that has a clear purpose. So choose sentences that you can imagine yourself using. Choose phrases that solve real speaking problems. Choose patterns that help you express your actual thoughts. For example, the sentence, "The cat is under the table," may teach structure, but it may not build your personal speaking confidence. But the sentence, "I'm still learning, so I may speak slowly," can help you in real conversations. The sentence, "I need more time to explain this," can help you when your mind slows down. The sentence, "I understand the idea, but I cannot explain it perfectly yet," can help you survive a difficult moment. The sentence, "What I mean is," can help you repair a broken sentence. These are not just sentences, they are speaking tools. Automatic English grows when tools become ready. You need ready tools for starting, continuing, explaining, repairing, and finishing your thoughts. If you do not have ready tools, your brain feels naked in conversation. It stands there searching for a beginning. It knows the meaning but cannot open the door. This is why automatic starters are so important. A starter gives your brain movement. Once movement begins, the rest becomes easier. Train starters like, "I think," "I feel like," "to be honest," "in my opinion," "the reason is," "what I mean is," "let me explain," "it depends on," "for me," "in my experience," "I'm not sure but," I could be wrong, but the main point is, what I'm trying to say is, these phrases may look simple, but they are powerful because they reduce the fear of beginning. Beginning is often the hardest part of speaking. When the first words come out, the brain relaxes. When the brain relaxes, more words become available. When more words become available, confidence grows. This is why you should not wait for the full sentence before you start. Many learners freeze because they want to see the entire answer in their mind before speaking. They want the beginning, middle, and end perfectly prepared. But real speaking does not always work like that. Often, you begin with a simple starter, and the next sentence appears after you start moving. Speech is not always a finished script. Speech is sometimes a road that becomes clear as you walk. Automatic starters help you take the first step. Another key to automatic English is repetition with variation. Repetition alone is useful, but repetition with variation is more powerful. If you repeat only one sentence the exact same way, you may memorize it, but you may struggle to use it flexibly. Variation teaches your brain how to move the pattern into different meanings. It makes English more alive. Take the pattern "I'm trying to" and repeat it with variation. I'm trying to improve my English. I'm trying to speak more naturally. I'm trying to stop translating. I'm trying to answer faster. I'm trying to build confidence. I'm trying to practice every day. I'm trying to think in English. I'm trying to become more comfortable in conversations. This one pattern becomes many messages. Your brain learns not only the phrase, but the power behind the phrase. Take the pattern "I need to" and build it in your daily life. I need to practice. I need to focus. I need to speak slowly. I need to repeat this sentence. I need to improve my listening. I need to ask a question. I need to explain my idea. I need to stop overthinking. This pattern trains action language. It helps your brain speak about needs, responsibilities, and goals. Take the pattern "I feel" and connect it to emotions. I feel nervous. I feel confident. I feel confused. I feel motivated. I feel comfortable. I feel better today. I feel scared when I speak. I feel proud when I practice. This pattern trains emotional language. It helps English become human, not robotic. Take the pattern "the reason is" and train explanation. The reason is simple. The reason is that I need more practice. The reason is that I translate too much. The reason is that I feel nervous. The reason is that I want better opportunities. The reason is that speaking needs confidence. This pattern helps your brain explain cause, and explanation is one of the most important speaking skills. When you train patterns this way, English becomes flexible. You are not memorizing one dead sentence. You are building a living sentence machine inside your mind. You can change the ending. You can change the topic. You can change the emotion. You can change the situation. This is how automatic English becomes natural instead of robotic. Another powerful method is the question and answer loop. Conversation is built on questions and answers, so your practice must include questions and answers. Many learners repeat sentences but do not practice answering. Then when a real question appears, their brain panics because it has not trained the response movement. You must train your brain to hear a question and produce an answer quickly. Start with common questions. How are you? What do you do? Why are you learning English? What is your biggest problem in English? What do you want to improve? What did you do today? What are your goals? What do you think about this? Do you agree? Can you explain that? These questions should become familiar friends, not frightening strangers. Answer each question in 3 levels. Level 1 is the short answer. Level 2 is the clear answer. Level 3 is the natural answer. For example, for "Why are you learning English?" Level 1 could be "For my future." Level 2 could be "I'm learning English because I want better opportunities." Level 3 could be "I'm learning English because I want to speak confidently, understand people easily, and create better opportunities for my future." This method trains your brain to expand naturally. You do not force a long answer from the beginning, you build from simple to deeper. For "What is your biggest problem in English?" Level 1 could be speaking. Level 2 could be "My biggest problem is speaking without translating." Level 3 could be "My biggest problem is that I understand English, but when I speak, I translate too much in my mind, and that makes my response slow." This is exactly the kind of answer many learners need in real life. It is honest, useful, and connected to their experience. For how was your day, level 1 could be, it was good. Level 2 could be, it was good but a little busy. Level 3 could be, it was good but a little busy because I had a lot of work to finish and now I'm trying to relax for a while. This teaches natural expansion. It helps you avoid one-word answers without forcing complicated speech. This 3-level practice is powerful because it trains control. Sometimes you need a short answer, sometimes you need a medium answer, sometimes you need a detailed answer. A strong speaker can adjust. A weak speaking system either says too little or tries too hard and collapses. Automatic English gives you options. Another important part of automatic English is rhythm. English is not only words and grammar. English has rhythm, stress, pauses, and flow. If you only study silently, your mouth never learns this rhythm. That is why reading out loud and shadowing are powerful. They train your tongue, lips, breath, and ears to work together. Your brain may know the sentence, but your mouth must become comfortable saying it. Read useful sentences out loud many times. Do not rush. Feel the movement. Say the sentence slowly, then say it naturally. Then say it with emotion. For example, take the sentence, "I'm trying to speak English more naturally." Say it slowly. Then say it as if you are talking to a friend. Then say it as if you truly believe it. This emotional repetition makes the sentence more alive in your memory. Shadowing can also build automatic rhythm. Listen to a short sentence and repeat it immediately. Choose sentences that match your level. Do not choose extremely fast, complicated content that destroys your confidence. Choose clear, natural, useful English. Shadow small phrases first, then short sentences, then longer sentences. The goal is not to imitate perfectly. The goal is to train your mouth to move with English rhythm. When you shadow, pay attention to groups of words, not only separate words. English often moves in chunks. I want to, I'm going to, I need to, let me, what I mean is, do you want to, I don't know if. These chunks should become smooth in your mouth. If you practice them often, you will not need to build them word by word during conversation. Chunks are the foundation of automatic speech. A chunk is a piece of language your brain stores as one unit. Instead of thinking separately about I, want, and to, your brain stores I want to as one speaking unit. This makes speech faster. Fluent speakers use thousands of chunks. Learners often try to create every sentence word by word. That makes speaking slow. So if you want automatic English, you must collect and repeat chunks, not isolated words only. Useful chunks include I think that, I feel like, I'm not sure, I don't know how to, I'm looking for, I'm interested in, I'm working on, I've been trying to, it depends on, that makes sense, as far as I know, the problem is, the best thing is, one thing I noticed is. Each chunk is a ready road. The more ready roads you have, the faster your speaking becomes. But remember, do not collect chunks only in a notebook. Use them, say them, build sentences with them, put them into your life. A chunk in a notebook is potential. A chunk in your mouth is power. Automatic English also requires emotional safety. If your brain feels punished every time you speak, it will resist practice. Many learners are harsh with themselves. They say, "My English is terrible. I sound stupid. I will never be fluent. I always make mistakes." These thoughts train fear. They make English feel dangerous. If you want automatic English, you must create a safer relationship with speaking. This does not mean lying to yourself. It means speaking to yourself like a coach, not an enemy. Instead of saying, "My English is terrible," say, "My English is improving." Instead of saying, "I always make mistakes," say, "Mistakes are part of training." Instead of saying, "I cannot speak," say, "I can speak slowly and improve." Instead of saying, "I sound bad," say, "My mouth is learning a new rhythm." These thoughts protect your confidence while you train. The brain learns better when it feels safe enough to try. Fear may force short-term effort, but safety creates long-term growth. If English always feels like a threat, your brain will avoid it. If English starts feeling like training, your brain will return to it. This is why you must reduce the emotional weight of speaking. Do not turn every practice session into a judgment day. Turn it into a workout. In a workout, struggling does not mean failure. Struggling means the muscle is being trained. Speaking practice is the same. If a sentence feels difficult, that is not proof that you are weak. It is proof that your brain is growing in that area. Automatic English grows through daily practice, but daily practice does not need to be huge. Many learners fail because they create impossible routines. They say, "I will practice for 3 hours every day," and after 2 days they stop. A smaller habit done every day is better than a huge plan that dies quickly. 10 focused minutes every day can change your speaking if those minutes are active, repeated, and meaningful. You can build a simple, automatic English routine. First, choose 5 useful sentence patterns. Second, create 5 personal sentences from each pattern. Third, say them out loud. Fourth, answer 3 common questions. Fifth, record 1 minute of speaking. Sixth, listen and improve 1 thing. This routine is simple, but it trains many parts of the speaking brain. Patterns build structure, personal sentences build meaning, speaking out loud trains the mouth, questions train response, recording builds awareness, correction builds improvement. If you repeat this daily, your English cannot remain the same. The secret is not complexity. The secret is consistency. Consistency tells the brain this language matters every day. When English appears daily, the brain keeps it active. When English appears only sometimes, the brain treats it as temporary. If you want English to become automatic, your brain must meet English often, not only during lessons. Not only when you feel motivated, not only when someone asks you, every day, even in small ways. Automatic English also depends on environment. Your environment should remind your brain to use English. Change small parts of your day, put English notes on your phone, keep useful phrases where you can see them, listen to simple English while walking, repeat 1 sentence during daily tasks. Think in English when you are alone. Watch short English clips and repeat 1 useful line. Make English visible, audible, and usable. Your environment can either support your old habits or build your new brain. If everything around you pushes you back into translation, English will feel far away. If your environment gives you small English signals, your brain will keep returning to English. You do not need to live in an English-speaking country to create an English environment. You can create a small English world inside your own day. A small English world might include your morning thoughts in English, 10 minutes of listening, 5 repeated phrases, 1 spoken recording, English labels for daily objects, and a night summary in English. This may seem simple, but simplicity repeated becomes identity. Your brain begins to think, English is part of my life now, and identity is powerful. When you identify as someone who practices English daily, you behave differently. You stop waiting for motivation, you stop asking whether you feel ready, you simply practice because that is who you are becoming. You are not only learning English, you are becoming the kind of person who uses English. Automatic English is the result of this identity in action. Another key is controlled pressure. You cannot build real speaking confidence only in comfortable silence. Eventually, your brain must practice under small pressure. But do not jump directly into terrifying situations. Increase pressure step by step. First, speak alone, then record yourself. Then send a voice note to a trusted person. Then speak with a patient partner. Then answer simple questions in a group. Then try a real conversation. This gradual pressure teaches your brain that speaking is safe. If you jump too fast, fear may become stronger. If you never face pressure, confidence may stay weak. The solution is progressive speaking. Small challenge, repeat, become comfortable, then increase. This is how the nervous system learns. This is how fear becomes manageable. This is how speaking becomes stronger. Your brain needs evidence that you can speak in real situations. Every small speaking challenge gives evidence. When you record your voice, you prove that your mouth can produce English. When you send a voice message, you prove that another person can hear your English and you can survive. When you speak with a partner, you prove that conversation is possible. When you continue after a mistake, you prove that mistakes do not end communication. Evidence changes belief. Belief changes confidence. Confidence changes fluency. Many learners try to think their way into confidence. They read motivational quotes. They imagine becoming fluent. They promise themselves they will speak one day. But confidence does not become strong through imagination alone. Confidence becomes strong when your brain has proof. Proof comes from action. The action does not need to be perfect. It only needs to be repeated. Automatic English also needs listening that supports speaking. Do not listen only to understand. Listen to steal useful phrases. When you hear a sentence that feels useful, take it, repeat it, personalize it, use it. For example, if you hear, "I see what you mean," do not only understand it, say it out loud. Imagine a situation, use it in your own sentence. "I see what you mean, but I have a different opinion." Now the phrase becomes active. When you listen, ask, "What can I use from this?" This question turns listening into speaking fuel. Every video, podcast, audiobook, conversation, or lesson becomes a source of patterns. You do not need to memorize everything. Choose a few useful lines and activate them. One activated sentence is better than 50 forgotten sentences. The native English brain is selective. It does not try to carry the whole language at once. It builds from useful pieces. This is why you should create your personal phrase bank, not a random vocabulary notebook, a speaking phrase bank. Write phrases you actually want to say. Divide them into categories: starting opinions, explaining ideas, asking for help, talking about feelings, repairing mistakes, daily life, work, goals, and confidence. Then practice them out loud, review them, use them, turn them into automatic tools. For example, under repairing mistakes, write, "Let me say that again. What I mean is, I forgot the exact word." I mean something like, "Sorry, let me explain it better." Under confidence, write, "I'm still learning, but I'm improving. I can speak slowly. I do not need perfect English to communicate." Under opinions, write, "I think, in my opinion, the way I see it, I agree because, I don't fully agree because." This phrase bank becomes your speaking toolbox. But tools must be used. Review without speaking is not enough. Read the phrases aloud. Create your own examples. Record them. Use them during practice. Bring them into real conversation. The goal is not to have a beautiful notebook. The goal is to have a ready mouth. Another powerful practice is topic recycling. Choose one topic and speak about it many times over several days. For example, your English journey. On day 1, speak for 1 minute. On day 2, speak again and add more details. On day 3, speak again with better structure. On day 4, answer questions about it. On day 5, tell it like a story. This repetition makes the topic automatic. Many learners change topics too quickly. They speak about one topic once, struggle, and move away. But fluency grows when you return. The second time is easier. The third time is smoother. The fourth time gives confidence. The fifth time creates ownership. Repeating the same topic is not boring if your goal is fluency. It is training. Think of singers. They repeat the same song many times. Think of actors. They rehearse the same lines many times. Think of athletes. They repeat the same movement many times. Repetition is not weakness. Repetition is mastery. English learners must stop being ashamed of repetition. You are not repeating because you are stupid. You are repeating because your brain needs enough contact to become automatic. Automatic English also grows when you speak from memory and meaning, not from reading only. Reading aloud is useful, but if you only read, your brain may depend on the page. To build response, you must close the page and speak from your own mind. Read a sentence, understand it, close your eyes, and say it in your own way. Read a short paragraph, then explain the idea simply without looking. This trains production. For example, after reading something about confidence, say, "The main idea is that confidence comes from practice, not perfection." After listening to a short lesson, say, "This lesson says that translation makes speaking slow, and we should practice direct English thoughts." This exercise trains summarizing, and summarizing is powerful because it forces your brain to understand and produce at the same time. Summarizing turns input into output. It turns listening into speaking. It turns understanding into expression. Another important ability is explaining around missing words. Many learners stop speaking because they forget one word, but a strong speaker can explain around the missing word. If you forget the word umbrella, you can say, "The thing we use when it rains." If you forget appointment, you can say, "A meeting at a fixed time." If you forget confident, you can say, "Feeling strong and not afraid." This skill keeps conversation alive. Do not make one missing word the end of your sentence. English has many roads. If one road is blocked, use another road. This ability gives freedom. It tells your brain, "I do not need every exact word to communicate." That belief reduces fear. Many learners think fluent speaking means always knowing the perfect word. Real communication often means using the words you have to explain the meaning you want. The native English brain is flexible. It bends, it adjusts, it finds another way. Practice this deliberately. Choose common words and explain them simply. What is confidence? Confidence means believing you can do something. What is fluency? Fluency means speaking smoothly without too much delay. What is translation? Translation means changing meaning from one language to another. What is practice? Practice means doing something again and again to improve. This exercise strengthens your ability to survive missing vocabulary. Automatic English also needs patience with speed. Many learners want to speak fast immediately. They think fast English means fluent English. But fast broken English is not the goal. Natural English is the goal. First, speak clearly. Then speak smoothly. Then speed will come. Speed is a result, not the foundation. If you force speed too early, your grammar, pronunciation, and confidence may collapse. Speak slowly with control, then repeat, then increase speed naturally. A sentence spoken slowly but clearly is better than a sentence spoken fast but confused. Your brain needs time to build accurate automatic pathways. If you repeat mistakes too quickly without awareness, you may train bad habits. If you speak carefully first and then increase speed, your automatic English becomes cleaner. Fluency is not only speed, fluency is ease, clarity, rhythm, and response. Another powerful practice is emotional repetition. Do not repeat sentences in a dead voice. Say them with feeling. If you say, "I want to improve my English," say it like you truly want it. If you say, "I feel nervous, but I will try," say it like you are encouraging yourself. If you say, "I can speak slowly and still communicate," say it like a belief. Emotion tells the brain that the sentence matters. The brain remembers emotional language better than dry language. This is why songs, stories, and powerful speeches stay in memory. They carry feeling. Your English practice should also carry feeling. Do not only train the mouth, train the heart. Connect English with your dreams, fears, goals, and identity. Then English becomes more than words. It becomes personal power. Automatic English also requires removing unnecessary shame. Your accent is not a crime. Your mistakes are not a crime. Your slow speaking is not a crime. Your learning journey is not shameful. Shame makes learners hide. Hiding prevents practice. Lack of practice keeps English weak. Then shame becomes stronger. You must break this cycle by giving yourself permission to be a learner. A learner is allowed to speak slowly. A learner is allowed to ask questions. A learner is allowed to make mistakes. A learner is allowed to repeat. A learner is allowed to improve publicly. A learner is allowed to be imperfect and still worthy of respect. When you remove shame, you create space for practice. When you create space for practice, automatic English grows. You cannot build fluency while constantly attacking yourself. You need discipline, yes. You need correction, yes. You need effort, yes. But you also need kindness toward the part of you that is learning. A native English brain is built through repetition, but repetition needs emotional permission. You must allow yourself to return again and again without feeling foolish. You must allow yourself to practice simple sentences without feeling childish. You must allow yourself to speak imperfectly without feeling broken. This permission is powerful. It keeps you moving, and movement is everything. Automatic English is not built in one dramatic moment. It is built in ordinary moments repeated with intention. A sentence in the morning, a phrase during work, a voice recording at night, a question answered out loud, a mistake corrected calmly, a useful phrase repeated 5 times, a short conversation attempted despite nervousness. These small actions do not look impressive from the outside, but inside the brain they are building roads. Every time you repeat useful English, the road becomes clearer. Every time you use English in your life, the road becomes stronger. Every time you speak despite fear, the road becomes safer. Every time you continue after a mistake, the road becomes trusted. And one day, the road that once felt difficult begins to feel natural. That is automatic English. It is not the absence of effort. It is the result of trained effort. It is not the absence of mistakes. It is the ability to continue despite mistakes. It is not speaking like someone else. It is speaking with your own voice, your own meaning, and your own growing confidence. The native English brain is not waiting somewhere far away. It is being built every time you choose direct practice over passive study, every time you turn a phrase into a sentence, every time you turn a sentence into a response, every time you turn a response into a habit, and every time you turn a habit into identity. So train the English you need, repeat the patterns that matter, speak the sentences that belong to your life. Practice until your mouth stops feeling surprised by English. Practice until common answers become easy. Practice until simple thoughts become automatic. Practice until fear has less time to interrupt. Practice until English no longer feels like a heavy object you carry. Practice until it begins to feel like movement. Because automatic English is not created by wishing, it is created by repetition with meaning, repetition with emotion, repetition with voice, repetition with courage, repetition with real life. And when this repetition becomes part of who you are, English stops being something you chase. It becomes something that answers with you. It becomes something that rises from inside you. It becomes something your brain can reach without panic. That is when speaking begins to feel natural. That is when your response becomes faster than your fear. That is when your English starts becoming automatic. Chapter 7. Become the person whose brain lives in English. There comes a point in every serious learner's journey where English can no longer remain only a subject, only a skill, only a lesson, only a notebook, only a video, only a course, or only something you practice when you feel motivated. If you truly want English to become natural, English must become part of the person you are becoming. It must enter your identity. It must enter your daily behavior. It must enter your self-image. It must become something your brain expects from you, not something your brain sees as unusual, scary, or temporary. This is where many learners stop too early. They learn English, but they never become English speakers in their own mind. They keep saying, "My English is weak." They keep saying, "I cannot speak." They keep saying, "I always freeze." They keep saying, "I know English, but speaking is not for me." And because they repeat this identity again and again, their brain begins to obey it. The brain listens to the story you tell about yourself. If your story is always weakness, fear, delay, and failure, your speaking behavior will follow that story. You will avoid conversations before they begin. You will expect embarrassment before you even open your mouth. You will treat every mistake as proof that you are not made for fluency. But the native English brain cannot grow inside an identity that keeps rejecting English. You cannot become fluent while constantly telling yourself that you are not a speaker. You cannot build confidence while constantly repeating that you are helpless. You cannot train automatic English while your mind still believes English is something outside you. At some point, the learner must change the story, not with fake pride, not with empty confidence, not by pretending to be perfect, but with a new identity built on action. You must begin saying, "I am becoming an English speaker," not because you speak perfectly today, but because you are training the brain that speaks. You must begin saying, "My English is improving," not because every sentence is correct, but because every day you are building stronger pathways. You must begin saying, "I can communicate even with simple English," not because you know every word, but because communication does not require perfection. You must begin saying, "I am training my native English brain," not because you were born with it, but because you are building it with repetition, meaning, courage, and daily use. Identity is powerful because it decides what feels normal. If you identify only as a student, studying feels normal, but speaking feels dangerous. If you identify as a speaker in training, practice feels normal, mistakes feel normal, repetition feels normal, and progress feels possible. A student may ask, "How much English did I learn today?" But a speaker in training asks, "How much English did I use today?" That one question can change everything because fluency is not built by learning alone. Fluency is built by using what you learn until it becomes part of you. Many people spend years collecting English but never owning English. They watch lessons, write notes, memorize words, and understand explanations, but they still feel like English belongs to teachers, native speakers, YouTubers, books, and other people. They feel like they are only visitors in the language, but the moment you start using English for your own thoughts, your own emotions, your own opinions, your own problems, your own goals, and your own life, English begins to become yours. A sentence you only understand still belongs partly to someone else. A sentence you can use belongs to you. A phrase you only hear is borrowed. A phrase you speak becomes part of your voice. A word you only recognize is passive. A word you use in your own life becomes active. This is why the final transformation is not only about English ability, it is about ownership. You must stop waiting for permission to speak English. You must stop waiting until you sound perfect. You must stop waiting until your accent disappears. You must stop waiting until every grammar rule feels safe. You must stop waiting until your fear is gone. The person who waits for perfect readiness often waits forever. The person who uses English before feeling ready begins becoming ready through action. Readiness is not something you find. Readiness is something you build. Confidence is not something you wait for. Confidence is something you earn through repeated proof. Fluency is not something that suddenly arrives. Fluency is something that forms every time English moves from your mind to your mouth. The native English brain is built through thousands of small identity votes. Every time you think in English, you vote for the identity of an English thinker. Every time you speak one sentence out loud, you vote for the identity of an English speaker. Every time you answer a question instead of staying silent, you vote for the identity of a confident communicator. Every time you continue after a mistake, you vote for the identity of a learner who does not quit. Every time you choose direct meaning instead of translation, you vote for the identity of a person whose brain can live in English. At first, these votes may feel small. One sentence, one thought, one recording, one answer, one practice session. But identity is not built by one huge moment. Identity is built by repeated evidence. Your brain does not believe new stories simply because you say them once. Your brain believes the stories that your actions prove again and again. If you say, "I am becoming fluent," but you never speak, the brain will not believe you deeply. But if you say, "I am becoming fluent," and then you practice every day, even for a few minutes, your brain begins to collect evidence. Slowly, belief becomes stronger. This is why action is the foundation of confidence. You cannot think your way into a native English brain while avoiding English. You cannot dream your way into fluency while refusing to speak. You cannot study your way into automatic response while never training response. You must become the person who uses English, not only the person who wants English. Wanting is not enough. Using changes the brain. There is a difference between saying, "I want to speak English," and living like someone who is training to speak English. The first is desire. The second is identity. Desire says, "One day." Identity says, "Today I will practice." Desire says, "When I am ready." Identity says, "I become ready by doing." Desire says, "I hope my English improves." Identity says, "I will create proof through action." This does not mean you need to practice for hours every day. It means English must become a daily signal to your brain. Even 10 minutes of active practice can become powerful if it is done consistently. A short daily practice tells your brain, "English belongs here." A daily English thought tells your brain, "This language is part of my mind." A daily spoken sentence tells your mouth, "This voice is mine." A daily answer tells your confidence, "I can respond." The small daily signal becomes a large internal change over time. Many learners underestimate the power of daily repetition because they want dramatic change. They want to wake up fluent. They want one secret method. They want one perfect course. They want one magical sentence that unlocks everything. But real fluency is less dramatic and more powerful than that. It is built quietly. It is built when nobody is watching. It is built when you repeat the same useful pattern again. It is built when you speak even though your voice shakes. It is built when you correct one mistake and continue. It is built when you choose English today even though yesterday felt difficult. The native English brain is built in ordinary moments. It is built while walking and thinking, "I need to practice today." It is built while looking at your work and thinking, "I have to finish this." It is built while feeling nervous and saying, "I can speak slowly." It is built while answering a simple question out loud. It is built while recording your voice for 1 minute. It is built while repeating a phrase until your mouth stops resisting. It is built while choosing not to translate one sentence. It is built while forgiving yourself for a mistake and trying again. These moments may not look impressive from the outside, but inside the brain, they are construction. You are laying roads. You are strengthening connections. You are teaching your nervous system that English is safe. You are teaching your mouth that English has rhythm. You are teaching your memory that useful phrases must be ready. You are teaching your identity that you are not only learning English, you are becoming someone who can live through English. And this is the real goal. Not to become a copy of someone else. Not to erase your personality. Not to hate your native language. Not to speak with fake confidence. Not to pretend you are perfect. The goal is to express your real self through English without being trapped by translation, fear, and silence. A native English brain does not mean you lose who you are. It means English becomes another door for who you are. Your thoughts can pass through that door. Your personality can pass through that door. Your kindness, intelligence, humor, pain, dreams, opinions, and experiences can pass through that door. English should not make you smaller. English should give you more space to express yourself. Many learners feel like a different person when they speak English. In their native language, they are smart, funny, emotional, deep, confident, and expressive. But in English, they feel like a child. They feel limited. They feel slow. They feel less intelligent. This feeling is painful, but it is also temporary. You are not less intelligent in English. Your English system is simply not trained enough yet to carry the full weight of who you are. With practice, English becomes stronger. With repetition, your personality begins to appear. With confidence, your voice becomes more natural. With time, you stop feeling trapped inside small sentences. This is why you must not confuse your current English level with your true ability. Your English may be limited today, but you are not limited as a person. Your sentence may be simple today, but your mind is not simple. Your pronunciation may be imperfect today, but your message still matters. Your response may be slow today, but your brain can become faster. Your confidence may be weak today, but confidence can be trained. Never let your current difficulty become your permanent identity. You are not bad at English. You are building a system that has not become automatic yet. This difference is important. When you say, "I am bad at English," you attack your identity. When you say, "My English system needs training," you create a solution. One statement creates shame, the other creates action. One makes you hide, the other makes you practice. One keeps you stuck, the other opens the door to growth. The native English brain grows best when you see yourself as trainable, not broken. Trainable, not hopeless. Trainable, not behind forever. Trainable, not silent by destiny. Trainable. This belief matters because the brain changes through practice. Your speaking ability is not fixed. Your response speed is not fixed. Your confidence is not fixed. Your pronunciation is not fixed. Your thinking patterns are not fixed. Your translation habit is not fixed. Everything you repeat can become stronger. Everything you stop feeding can become weaker. If you feed fear, fear grows. If you feed silence, silence grows. If you feed direct English thinking grows. If you feed speaking practice, speaking power grows. So ask yourself, what are you feeding every day? Are you feeding translation by converting every sentence before speaking? Are you feeding fear by avoiding every conversation? Are you feeding silence by waiting for perfect confidence? Are you feeding passive English by only watching and never speaking? Or are you feeding the native English brain through direct meaning, useful patterns, spoken repetition, emotional connection, and brave response? Your daily habits are shaping your English future. Not your wishes, not your excuses, not your fear. Your habits. This is why you need a clear identity routine. Not a complicated routine, but a routine that tells your brain who you are becoming. Begin the day with one English thought. Today I will use English. Say one useful sentence out loud. I am training my English brain. During the day, describe 3 actions in English. Answer one question out loud. Repeat one sentence pattern 5 times. At night, summarize your day in English. This simple routine may take only a few minutes, but if repeated daily, it becomes a powerful identity signal. Your brain begins to expect English. Your mouth begins to accept English. Your confidence begins to trust English. Your identity begins to include English. That is how transformation happens. You do not become fluent only in the moments when you feel motivated. You become fluent in the moments when you practice because the habit belongs to you. Motivation is useful, but motivation changes. Some days you feel excited. Some days you feel tired. Some days you feel confident. Some days you feel discouraged. If your practice depends only on emotion, your progress will rise and fall too much. But identity is stronger than motivation. When something becomes part of who you are, you return to it, even when emotion is low. A person who says, "I practice English when I feel motivated," will practice sometimes. A person who says, "I am an English speaker in training," will practice because practice matches identity. That is the difference. This identity does not need to be loud. You do not need to tell everyone. You do not need to prove anything publicly. You only need to act in agreement with the person you are becoming. Quiet discipline builds strong fluency. Private practice creates public confidence. Small daily proof creates deep belief. Another important part of becoming the person whose brain lives in English is learning to protect your progress from negative voices. Some people may laugh at your mistakes. Some people may judge your accent. Some people may say your English is not good. Some people may make you feel small because you are still learning. But you must understand something clearly. People who laugh at your learning are not building your future. You are. Their opinion cannot speak for you. Their judgment cannot practice for you. Their laughter cannot decide your potential. Do not give weak people the power to stop your growth. If someone corrects you kindly, learn from it. If someone mocks you, ignore the poison and keep the lesson. If someone discourages you, return to your reason. If someone makes you feel ashamed, remember that every fluent speaker once had a beginning. Your goal is bigger than their reaction. Your future is bigger than one uncomfortable moment. Your English brain is too important to be controlled by someone else's opinion. Many learners quit not because English is impossible, but because they allow embarrassment to become stronger than purpose. Purpose must be stronger. Why are you learning English? For confidence, for opportunity, for communication, for growth, for your future, for your voice, for the version of yourself who no longer wants to stay silent. When your purpose is strong, embarrassment becomes smaller. It may still hurt, but it will not stop you. Purpose gives courage. Courage creates action. Action creates proof. Proof creates confidence. Confidence creates fluency. This is the chain you must protect. You must also understand that the native English brain is not built by perfection. It is built by return. You will have days when you translate too much. Return. You will have days when your speaking feels slow. Return. You will have days when you forget words. Return. You will have days when you feel embarrassed. Return. You will have days when you compare yourself to others. Return. You will have days when you think you are not improving. Return. The learner who returns wins, not the learner who never struggles. The learner who returns. Consistency does not mean you never fail. Consistency means failure does not end your journey. A bad speaking day is not the end. A grammar mistake is not the end. A nervous conversation is not the end. A week of low motivation is not the end. Return to English. Return to practice. Return to your identity. Return to the person you are building. This ability to return is one of the deepest signs of serious growth. Because fluency is a long journey, and the journey will test your patience. At first, progress may feel slow. Then you may suddenly improve. Then you may feel stuck again. This is normal. Learning does not always move in a straight line. Sometimes your brain is building quietly before you can see the result. Sometimes the improvement is happening inside, but your mouth has not shown it yet. Sometimes you understand more before you can speak more. Sometimes you speak better alone before you speak better with people. Do not judge the entire journey by one difficult day. Trust the process of repeated training. The brain needs time. The mouth needs time. Confidence needs time. Automatic response needs time. But time alone is not enough. Time with practice creates transformation. Many people say, I have been learning English for years, but when you ask how much they have spoken, the answer is very little. Years do not create fluency if the years are filled only with passive study. Months can create powerful change if the months are filled with active speaking. It is not only how long you have learned, it is how deeply you have used what you learned. Use English every day. Use it when it is simple. Use it when it is imperfect. Use it when nobody listens. Use it when someone listens. Use it when you feel ready. Use it especially when you do not feel ready. This is how English becomes yours. There is a beautiful moment that serious learners eventually experience. At first, English feels heavy. Every sentence feels like work. Every answer feels like pressure. Every conversation feels like danger. Then slowly, after enough direct practice, something changes. A phrase comes without translation. A sentence appears faster than before. A question feels familiar. A mistake no longer destroys your confidence. You explain something and realize, I did not translate as much this time. You answer someone and think, that was easier than before. You record your voice and hear progress. You notice that English is no longer completely outside you. That moment is powerful. It is not full fluency yet, but it is proof that the brain is changing. And once you taste that proof, you must keep going. Because the goal is not one good sentence. The goal is a new speaking identity. The goal is for English to become a place your brain can enter without panic. The goal is to hear a question and feel that an answer is possible. The goal is to stop treating English like a mountain you can never climb and start treating it like a path you walk every day. The native English brain is not a fantasy. It is a trained mind, a mind trained to connect English directly with meaning, a mind trained to use patterns instead of translating every word, a mind trained to think in English during daily life, a mind trained to speak even when nervous, a mind trained to recover from mistakes, a mind trained to repeat useful sentences until they become automatic, a mind trained to identify as a speaker, not only a student. This is what you are building, and the more you build it, the more your old habits lose power. Translation loses power because direct meaning becomes stronger. Fear loses power because repeated speaking creates safety. Silence loses power because your mouth becomes used to English. Shame loses power because you understand that mistakes are part of training. Passive knowledge loses power because you activate English through use. You begin to move differently. You begin to practice differently. You begin to speak differently. You begin to see yourself differently. And that is when English stops being only something you learn. It becomes something you live. Living in English does not mean you use English every second. It means English has a real place inside your day and inside your mind. It means you can describe your life in English. It means you can express simple feelings in English. It means you can answer common questions in English. It means you can practice thoughts in English. It means English is no longer locked behind translation. It has a pathway. That pathway may start small, but it can grow wide. At first, you may only think, I am tired. Later, you may think, I am tired because I worked a lot today, but I still want to practice for a few minutes. At first, you may only say, I want English. Later, you may say, I want to speak English confidently because I know it can change my future. At first, you may only answer, I am fine. Later, you may answer, I'm doing well, just a little busy these days, but I'm trying to stay focused on my goals. This is growth, not sudden, not perfect, but real. Do not despise the early version of your English. That early version is the foundation. Every strong speaker once spoke in simple sentences. Every powerful voice once had a beginning. Every natural response once had to be practiced. The simple English you speak today is not a sign of failure. It is the seed of the fluent English you will speak later. Protect that seed, water it with practice. Strengthen it with repetition. Give it sunlight through confidence. Do not bury it under shame. Do not poison it with comparison. Do not abandon it because it is small. Every fluent speaker is the result of small beginnings that were not abandoned. You must also create a future image of yourself that pulls you forward. Imagine yourself answering naturally. Imagine yourself speaking slowly but clearly. Imagine yourself having a conversation without panic. Imagine yourself understanding someone and responding with confidence. Imagine yourself using English for work, travel, study, business, friendship, or personal growth. This future image is not for daydreaming only. It is a direction. It reminds you why the daily practice matters. But remember, imagination must be connected to action. Every day ask, what small action proves that I am becoming this person? Maybe it is 1 minute of speaking. Maybe it is 5 English thoughts. Maybe it is 1 voice recording. Maybe it is 1 conversation attempt. Maybe it is repeating 1 useful pattern. Small proof is better than big imagination without action. The native English brain is built by proof. Proof says, I practiced today. Proof says, I spoke today. Proof says, I continued today. Proof says, I improved 1 sentence today. Proof says, I did not quit today. These proofs become the bricks of your new identity. One of the most powerful sentences you can tell yourself is, I am allowed to be in progress. This sentence removes unnecessary pressure. You do not need to be perfect today. You need to be in progress. You do not need to speak like a native speaker today. You need to train your brain today. You do not need to know every word today. You need to use the words you have today. Progress is not shameful. Progress is honorable. When you accept progress, practice becomes easier. When practice becomes easier, consistency becomes possible. When consistency becomes possible, fluency becomes realistic. This is how you move from the old identity to the new one. The old identity says, I cannot speak. The new identity says, I am training my speaking. The old identity says, I always translate. The new identity says, I am building direct English thinking. The old identity says, mistakes embarrass me. The new identity says, mistakes teach me. The old identity says, English is difficult for me. The new identity says English is becoming more natural through practice. Your words shape your direction. Speak to yourself like someone you are responsible for helping. Do not speak to yourself like an enemy, because the learner inside you needs guidance, not insult. The learner inside you needs discipline, but also patience. The learner inside you needs correction, but also courage. The learner inside you needs honest effort, but also hope. You cannot hate yourself into fluency. You train yourself into fluency, and training requires return. Day after day, sentence after sentence, thought after thought, response after response. This final transformation is quiet but powerful. You begin as someone who knows English from the outside. Then you become someone who thinks in English sometimes. Then you become someone who speaks simple English with less fear. Then you become someone who responds faster. Then you become someone who can continue after mistakes. Then you become someone whose brain does not always run back to translation. Then you become someone who feels English living inside your mind. That is the native English brain. It is not a brain that never makes mistakes. It is not a brain that knows every word. It is not a brain that speaks without any pause. It is a brain that has been trained to use English directly, calmly, repeatedly, and meaningfully. It is a brain that trusts English enough to respond. It is a brain that sees English not as danger, but as expression. It is a brain that no longer waits for perfection before speaking. It is a brain that understands that language is built through living use. So become that person. Become the learner who uses English daily. Become the speaker who practices before confidence arrives. Become the mind that chooses meaning over translation. Become the voice that continues after mistakes. Become the person who no longer hides behind one day. Become the person who says, "Today I will speak at least one sentence." Become the person whose English is not perfect but alive. Because living English will always beat silent perfection. A perfect sentence inside your head changes nothing. A simple sentence spoken with courage changes your brain. And every time your brain changes, your future changes with it. The day will come when you realize that you are no longer the same learner who used to freeze at every question. You may still be learning. You may still be improving. You may still make mistakes. But something inside you will be different. You will know how to begin. You will know how to continue. You will know how to repair. You will know how to think. You will know how to practice. You will know how to return. And most importantly, you will know that English is not outside your reach. It is inside your training, inside your habits, inside your voice, inside your identity, inside the brain you are building every day. This is how you stop translating. This is how you stop freezing. This is how you stop waiting. This is how you build a native brain for English, not by wishing for fluency, not by fearing mistakes, not by staying silent until perfect, but by becoming the person who gives English a place to live inside the mind, inside the mouth, inside the day, and inside the future. That person is not far away. That person begins with your next sentence. So speak it, think it, repeat it, use it, own it, and let your English brain become stronger every single day. And now, as this book comes to an end, remember one truth deeply. You were never weak in English. You were only trained the wrong way. You were trained to memorize before speaking, translate before answering, fear mistakes before communicating, and wait for perfect grammar before opening your mouth. But real English fluency does not begin when you become perfect. It begins when your brain finally understands that English is not a subject to carry with pressure. English is a voice to build with practice. The learner who keeps translating will always feel late. The learner who keeps waiting will always feel behind. The learner who keeps hiding will always feel afraid. But the learner who starts thinking in English, answering in English, repeating useful patterns in English, and using simple sentences with courage will slowly build something powerful inside the mind. That powerful thing is the native English brain, a brain that does not run back to translation every time, a brain that does not panic at every mistake, a brain that does not treat every conversation like an exam, a brain that understands meaning directly, responds with courage, and improves through daily use. From today, do not ask yourself only how much English do I know. Ask yourself, how much English did I use today? Because the English you use becomes yours. The English you repeat becomes natural. The English you speak becomes stronger. And the English you hide inside your mind remains silent. So start small, but start seriously. Think one thought in English. Speak one sentence in English. Answer one question in English. Repeat one useful pattern in English. Record your voice for 1 minute. Describe your day in simple English. And when you make a mistake, do not stop. When you forget a word, do not quit. When your sentence breaks, build it again. When fear rises, speak slowly. Because every brave sentence is training your brain to believe, I can do this. One day, the sentence that feels difficult today will become easy. The answer that feels slow today will become faster. The fear that feels heavy today will become smaller. And the English that feels outside you today will begin to live inside you. That is the real transformation, not perfect English. Natural English, not silent knowledge. Speaking power, not translation. Direct response, not fear. Fluency with confidence. Before you leave, subscribe to the channel for more powerful English audiobooks from English Mindset Academy, and in the comments write, I will build my native English brain. Write it not only as a comment, but as a promise to yourself. Because your English future will not be created by waiting. It will be created by the sentence you choose to speak next. This book is published by English Mindset Academy. Keep practicing, keep speaking, keep building your English brain. Your fluency is not far away. It is already beginning inside you.